taken part in a couple of London marathons, a really nice guy. And their many employees and their many charitable programs and Godolphin Lifetime Care and the schools project, the Beacon project, that you don't necessarily hear so much about these things, but they are all part of what Godolphin stands for, and say he does have to run all of that. So I imagine coming over to Dubai is a nice sort of working holiday for him. There's our faces at the races. I love this initiative. What's he holding? He's made a little banner. I think he's just holding a leaflet.
I don't know. He's holding the menu to a Chinese restaurant, I think. I can't tell.
Well done anyway if he's won. There's a number of nice initiatives that the Dubai Racing Club have put on. You can also play the Pick Six online now. It's called My Lucky Six, and my husband played it last week. It's quite easy to enter, actually. You just go on, and for 20 dirhams, which is a charitable donation, you just pick your horses and you play it like a Pick Six, but do it from home. It's a great idea. And you can win 20,000 dirhams, which is decent.
Yeah, and it raises money for a good cause, I suppose. Some cause. But it's fun to play, and that's what matters. I feel like it, especially with this card today, it'll be a perplexing one, but I feel like it's going to be a very blue one. It's just which blue it is. I know, yeah. I do have a motto, if in doubt, go for Godolphin, and that might stand as well throughout the rest of the card, particularly this Jumeirah Derby trial, which comes up. It's quite interesting, isn't it, with two races for the 3-year-olds back-to-back, one over 1,200 metres, one over 1,800 metres. I don't think we've seen that before here. Yeah, back-to-back on the grass, so the divot fillers, my condolences. But this will be a nice chance for some of these horses that we know are going to want to go a distance of ground later on in the season, hopefully, to get a chance, or their trainers think they might be able to get a chance over 9 furlongs. A lot of them haven't gone this far, haven't had a chance to do so. So I look forward to seeing horses like Kaio Shark, even like an Island Falcon, see what they can do in this spot. Kaio Shark's really interesting. I spoke to his trainer, Rafael Freire, this morning, who's a really young guy. He's from Brazil. He trains in Sweden. He told me he's got around 13 horses. He rides them all himself in the mornings. And he was kind of cautiously confident, I'd say, about a big run from this horse, who's actually having his first run for him, and was with Michael Bell. And his form's all right. Yeah, very much so. Bred to handle up to this trip, probably as far as he wants to go. But I do think that his run at York was quite good. It was a much different ground than he's going to experience this time. But to me, of all the horses that are the double digits, he's the most likely to surprise us. Yeah, I thought so as well. He's just got the one win so far, as Mikey says. It came at Haydock. I like quite a few of these. He's stepping up in trip. One I thought who would appreciate the step up in trip was Island Falcon, which was why he was my tip. But anyway, let's hear from Stephen. More info on this race coming up.
Yeah, we've got our first Derby trial of the season coming up. Charlie Appleby's pretty good at winning Derby trials back in England. Let's see if he can take out the Jumeirah Derby trial as well. This race due off at 6:35, over 1,800 metres on the turf, 9 furlongs in old money. So quite a test for these 3-year-olds for a purse fund of $60,000. We've got a field of 10 for this race, then headed by Al Mofti for Ahmed bin Hamash. Ray Dawson rides this one. Then Chao Shark, Antonio Fresu for Rafael Ferreira. Island Falcon is the mount of Frankie Dettori. Saeed bin Surov trains that one. Justice Protocol, Mikhail Barcelona and Ismail Mohammed, the team there. Then got Mr. Professor, who backs up quickly, having finished third to Sovereign Prince just last week. Nadir also ran a few weeks ago behind Conglomerate on the dirt. Didn't seem to enjoy that, so we'll be happier certainly back on the turf. New Kingdom is favourite. He was a winner at Haydock last time. Then Prero for Dane O'Neill and Bent Olsen. Said Marib, another one that turns out quickly after running a really good race last week, perhaps a touch unlucky to finish second to Sovereign Prince. And the 10 are completed by Yes More Rich, the mount of Safe Al Belushi, who can take off 1.5 kilos, one of 2 in the race for Ahmed bin Hamash.
So this is the trial for the Jumeirah Derby. In case you're interested, the Jumeirah Derby itself is on Friday, February the 25th, the last carnival meeting that isn't Super Saturday. And it's worth $200,000, and it's over the 10 furlongs. So you've actually got a long old break, really. Yeah, I guess that gives them a bit of option, of options from in between. Jumeirah Derby actually sets them up if they are a horse that can handle both surfaces. They run big there. They basically stamp their ticket to the UAE Derby on the dirt. Yeah, plenty of Dabawis can handle both surfaces. And to be honest, what trainer wouldn't give it a go? Yeah. I mean, even if you know your horse is going to run at the back of the field, it's such fun being involved in World Cup week. You're already here, and there's always, a handful of horses in the race that probably should be on the grass anyway. It should probably not be in the race, and you can beat them. Get in there. I mean, they pay out, I think through 8th for World Cup days. So get your money. Yeah, it was a good initiative they brought in last year, wasn't it, Dubai Racing Club, to extend the prize money down to 8th, which is great. Covers, you know, travel costs. Obviously, you get free shipping in for World Cup if you're invited, but still there are always going to be costs, like with anything you do. So the runners coming out into the parade ring for our inaugural Jumeirah Derby trial, presented by Azizi, sponsoring right the way through tonight's card. Big property developer here in Dubai. I mean, to Stephen's point, he's right, really. There's not a huge amount of Europeans in a race that's very much aimed at them, isn't it?
Very much so. But, you know, they should do quite well with the limited amount they have.
Well, this is Al Mofti, trained locally. He's a maiden, and you'll know more than me, but he's not really bred for the turf.
I mean, there's the minstrel on the bottom. I haven't seen a minstrel mare in a very long time.
I know.
But he obviously was a classic winner for Vincent O'Brien. But there's some grass there. Cupid is a tappet, and tappets go either way. We never know with Cupid where they're going to go right now. He still has the ability to show us they can go on the grass. I wouldn't be surprised, but he has to improve off his debut effort.
Dam of Al Mofti was a 2-year-old winner on the dirt. He actually ran okay. He finished 7 lengths behind Azure Coast in a sort of bizarre maiden where they were all in a heap, and then Azure Coast came from the absolute clouds to win. This is Chaos Shark. Got the blinkers on, as you can see. They picked him up for a bit of a price, 62,000 at the Tattersalls Horses in Training sale. He can be quite keen, which I'm sure Antonio is well prepared for.
Yeah, and the fact that he did stay on nicely over a good to soft ground over a mile makes me think that the 9 furlongs is not going to be any problem at all for him. Like I said, it's probably as far as he wants to go. The 10 furlongs will be a surprise next month, but he's one that I think will come on for the run. But at the same time, he looks pretty fit. I think he's ready to go in this spot.
Rafael Frey had one runner last week, Hotline Bling, who's a lovely little horse who finished 4th. Thought it was a really good run, trainer's first attempt here in Dubai. So that kind of gives you a bit of an idea that he, knows what it takes to prepare one here. It's a nice shot. Hugh Anderson, busy man this evening with 2 trainers to oversee. This is my selection, Island Falcon. He won the same maiden. Stephen was talking to you about Adiyar earlier. The same maiden that Adiyar won at Nottingham back in October. Not quite as emphatically as that horse. He only won by a nose, but he did win from gate 14. Stayed on quite well. So I thought he might well have this in his compass this evening. I think he'll go well.
He looks good. He's not very tall. He's an itty bitty boxy thing. He's not quite Adiyar. He's about half his size. But he's obviously comes into this nicely. Ifrages always go well no matter the surface, especially here on flat. I love them on flatter, sort of like low undulation types of surfaces. He's a top 3 horse no matter how you look at it.
This is Justice Protocol, who has annoyingly spelled name. He's a half brother to Miami Joy, also trained by Ismail Mohammed and a winner over hurdles. So he should stay. He's won 1 from 3 in the UK. That came at Chelmsford on the all-weather, so tries the turf for the first time. Yeah,
he's a son of the Wrigley Bred Time Test, who's himself a son of Passage of Time, was a very good horse in his own right, both in the UK and in America for Chad Brown briefly. I think that he's done very well with his offspring, and this one probably has a much better chance of doing well here than Miami Joy.
Mr. Professor wheels back quickly from last week. He ran a really good race in the Sovereign Prince race, beaten a length and 3/4. It's a fair step up in trip from 1,400 metres to this 1,800 metres, but his dam, Laura the Range, I remember her really well because she was owned by a friend of mine, and she stayed really well. She was a listed winner over a mile and 2. So on pedigree, he should stay on that side, but then he is by profitable, of course, was a sprinter for Godolphin. So it's a bit of a watching brief, I'd say, with him, but at least we know it's always been the plan for her to back him up quickly.
You got the stamina on the bottom side there.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that he stayed through, was it at Pontefract, which is a left-handed bend as well, going a mile, he stayed through on soft ground. So, that to me says that he'll probably stay through 9 furlongs here if he can stay through a soft 8 in the UK.
Nada hated the muddy dirt last time. He'll be happier back on the turf, you imagine, as a novice winner.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
I was thinking like Ralph Nader. So I was calling it Nader.
Nader.
But it's a very,
I
very
don't know. We'd
American.
have to ask Saeed.
But yeah, I think that his best chance. I mean, that was terrible in the dirt. He's back to the sod, and I feel like his best bet is probably to go forward and try to make all here.
Yep, could happen. As we know, he stays further than this, so that won't be an issue for him. This is another chestnut. Is this one like Space Blues as well?
No, no. He's a little prettier than Space Blues.
But you cannot say that. I love Space Blues.
Yeah, Space Blues is my favorite Godolphin horse. So
This
I compare
is
a lot of things
New
to him.
Kingdom anyway. He was a pretty short price favourite. Must look pretty good because it cost 800,000 guineas at
He's
Tatsbook
gorgeous.
One.
He's a stunning and a typical like cross we've seen do extremely well, especially with Charlie of Dubawi over at Galileo Mayer. He's going to love every bit of the 9 furlongs here. His victory last time was at Haydock was, I thought, very, very, very smart, despite the margin of victory. And I feel like he's going to, he's a horse to beat squarely. I feel like it would take a lot to beat him.
Just a quick look at Perrault there, who won at Denmark last time. He's actually 1 from 1 over this course and distance. Sven Olsen knows how to prepare one from here. He's never won, but he's had a number 1 run well in defeat. So let's hear from some hopeful connections.
Yeah, I'm joined by Rafael Ferreira, who saddles KO Shark. Great to see you here and enjoying Dubai so far.
Absolutely, it's fantastic to be here. We feel privileged to have my 3rd season as a trainer and be able to bring some horses down here. It's been great so far.
And this horse, KO Shark, you got from England. Did you buy him specifically for these races?
Well, actually, he's bought for the Norwegian Derby. He's a horse we think a lot of, and I mean, he's a horse we have a lot of belief on, and we brought him over here just to keep him training, keep him well, and see what he can do here, really.
Do you think the trip is going to suit him well? Obviously, with the Derby, you're hoping he'll stay well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think 1800 should suit him really well. He finished 2nd last time out in a Class 2A York when they stepped him up for 16. He's a big horse. He won over 7 furlongs, which I don't think it's a distance that should suit him so well. I think he'll only benefit from the distance, from going up on a trip a little bit.
And he'll be your 2nd runner so far this season. Hotline Bling ran really well, I thought, last week. What did you make of that?
Yeah, he ran really well. He still ran a bit green. He's too keen. He's the keen type. I mean, once you get on a fight with that horse, he just goes everywhere. Gonna be wide in the bend, and it cost him a bit in that race. I think the next time with some adjustments, I think over 16, we try to put him to sleep a little bit more, and I think he can achieve something here.
And just tell us a bit about yourself. How did you end up training in Scandinavia?
Well, I don't know really. I went there to ride. I was a jockey, and bought a horse for myself, and one thing led to another, and then I ended up training.
Well, we wish you all the best here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I said earlier that Rafael trains in Sweden. He does, of course, train in Norway and apparently speaks several languages. You heard there, brilliant English, speaks, I think, Portuguese and Spanish as well. So a very talented guy, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on here with KO Shark. Let's remind you of that run from Mr. Professor last week. Behind Sovereign Prince. I think this is a stronger race today as well.
It is, but he should come on for it. I think this is kind of, as you mentioned, probably within the planning for them to see what he could do over a couple of races and then decide from there. This was good. I don't think it was, super impressive. I think he was kind of put in his place by 2 better horses here. And one of them he's going to see again.
Yeah, Sed Marib we should talk about, because he was just a little bit unlucky, wasn't he? There was a point where Adri had to switch around rivals. Adri, I think, is doing a spell of isolation, which is why Tygo Shea was very quick to pick up the ride, and I don't blame him. He's got a live chance, this horse.
Quick turnaround does worry me a bit, because I thought he ran really hard, especially the last bit there, trying to get to them. But, if Fauzi wants to turn back, and he's proven it before, he can do it and get a horse to victory. But he is up against it here, and he is drawn out in 10. So that worries me, is he's basically going to have to do the same thing again, which is basically drop out the back of the field and make one run.
Yeah, Stephen's back with us. Pretty busy in there tonight. A lot of connections made the journey over this week, which is great.
I think that we've got these 2 turf races fairly back to back, haven't we? So maybe 1 or 2 have stuck around to run both weeks, particularly Alice Haynes. And I think her owners were certainly there in the first race, and there's a good few people over. But this is obviously we're going a bit further, so different shapes about these horses. But New Kingdom looked poles apart compared to these. He looked amazing. Certainly a different kettle of fish altogether to the Charlie Appleby horse that won the first race, as you'd expect for 800,000 as a yearling. Not really bred to stay much beyond a mile, but he is out of a Galileo mare, so I guess that particular cross has led to him having that bit of stamina. And you know, the horse that he beat last time had been runner-up in a nursery off 89, so if you're looking at some sort of mark for New Kingdom, then you're probably looking at early 90s, which is going to be more than good enough to win this, I think.
Interesting thing was, when he won at Haydock, he was actually entered in the Dewhurst and the Middle Park, which might have been, no disrespect to the new Jumeirah Derby trial, but nicer races to win.
Yeah, and I don't think Charlie Appleby enters everything, does it? I mean, it's not the Godolphin policy as perhaps it once was to block entry everything into races such as that.
They tend to supplement later on a lot now, don't they? Because they have so many.
You can sort of see why he's been a bit of time to develop, but he was very much on his toes, very much ready to go. He looked very fit. I thought the Ismail Mohammed horse, Justice Protocol, he looks as though he's going to need the run, I think, and to a degree Island Falcon as well. But yeah, again, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Godolphin were to run 1, 2, 3 in this, with obviously Said Marib as the main threat to finishing the placings again.
Yeah, he's an interesting horse, Said Marib. They absolutely hated the dirt, but it would have served the purpose to get him fitter, and I think a lot of trainers do that, stick them on the dirt. They might not like it. If they do like it, great, you found another avenue to explore. If they don't like it, at least you're fitter, and it worked nicely with him. That was a super run last time, and it is, again though, it's a big step up. I mean, he flew home last time, but of course they're not going to necessarily slow down as much as they did over the 1400.
No, and he was threatened to be keen. Adro settled him beautifully at the back, but he can be a keen going sort. I guess they've drawn wide again, so they're going to drop him in again, but I think he's coming up against a better horse first and foremost than Sovereign Prince in the form of New Kingdom, so there's that against him. Quick turnaround and whether he's going to see it out quite as well. So yeah, 96 he was rated on the back of that. Probably seems a bit on the high side, bearing in mind he went into the race rated just 82.
Okay, let's look at the course and distance. Our lovely sweeping turf track, first running of this race. And there is KO Shark. You said it differently. Am I pronouncing it wrongly? KO Shark?
I said KO. It's
okay.
all the same.
What if it's one of those?
KO Shark.
Oh, did he? Okay, well he would know as the man of many languages and also the horse's trainer.
But it's Nader.
Okay, it's Nader. Okay, we'll all agree with Nader then. After the Hong Kong Jockey Club executive bill.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
maybe
possibly.
Okay, I'm going to go with Island Falcon. Although Stephen's just told me he looks a bit tubby. Anyone opposing the favourites?
No.
I mean, I'll go with New Kingdom, but I think KO Shark is going to run big. KO Shark.
KO Shark.
Knockout
okay.
Shark.
So for Alice's listening, we've got KO Shark and we've got Nader for our Jumeirah Derby trial. And there's another one we didn't really mention going forward. Yes, More Rich, beaten a long way on both of his starts. So if he's going to make connections More Rich tonight, he's going to have to improve for the switch to the turf, which is unlikely to happen on breeding. So just a couple more to go forward. Let's head upstairs for our second race this evening, second on the turf.
Jumeirah Derby trial field just about ready as Justice Protocol completed the lineup. All set. Gates are back, and they're racing away, and Nada came out a little bit slowly and is lost in the early stages, complete contrast to the norm. Pierrot got a good beginning and is off to the early lead. Shows the way by about 2 lengths over El Mofti, who races in second. Charles Shark, the red body, is third and about 4 lengths off the leader. Pierrot is not really hanging around. Then comes New Kingdom against the rail, sharing third. Just over a length back to Justice Protocol, and Island Falcon, the all-blue colours, is in 6th place down the back straight. Mr. Professor is in the purple silks, racing away in 7th, with a length back then to Nada, who's at the outside of Yes More Rich and Said Marib, ridden for luck at the back of the field and banking on a good pace, which he's getting towards the corner of the track. And they now approach the final 1,000 metres. Pierrot is in front by about 4 lengths. El Mofti stacks up the rest in second. Then comes Charles Shark, who races back in third. New Kingdom got a good spot in 4th, but about 6 lengths off this clear leader. Justice Protocols in the blue sleeves and the white body. Then comes Mr. Professor, who races at the outside of Island Falcon. 2 lengths away to Yes More Rich and Nada, and Said Marib at the end of the field. field. A little bit more compact now towards the angle for home. 600 metres out. It's Piero in the lead, but that lead's been cut down to about 2.5. Al Mufti is second. Chow Shark in third. New Kingdom got a nice run, but got 5 lengths to make up. So too does Island Falcon, the all blue colours. Mr. Professor's towards the outside. Justice Protocol was next as Piero in the lead. He's had a target on his back the whole way. He's still in front by 2, but here's New Kingdom and Island Falcon quickening together. Island Falcon finishing well towards the inside as Piero, and New Kingdom is in between them. Island Falcon has the advantage. New Kingdom continues to chip away, but it's Island Falcon who'll win. Island Falcon leads a Godolphin 1-2. Second to New Kingdom. Then came Piero, Said Marib, Mr. Professor. They were ahead of Nada, El Mufti, a few lengths away to Justice Protocol. Yes, more Rich and Chow Shark.
Oh, I thought we were going to have a Scandinavian winner there. Piero, what a mighty run from him, but swamped by the Godolphin Blue and Island Falcon for Saeed Bin Saror and Frankie Dettori. The step up in trip, not a problem for this horse that won that very good maiden at Nottingham in the UK, and it was smooth sailing, although the favourite kept him honest, didn't he? And this horse just had more momentum and almost just stayed better, I thought, Mikey.
I'm interested to see the replay again, because it seemed like they were the jockeys were having a bit of a chess match there, seeing who would push the button first, and Frankie won out in the long run.
2 from 3 now. Island Falcon is a half-brother to Royal Partnership, who was a 2,000-metre winner at York in the UK for Godolphin, and another one to come through that good Nottingham maiden. They seem to have a couple of good races a year, and this is very much one of them.
Yeah, they do. It's just a sort of track, I think, where trainers like to send well-bred horses, and a nice long straight there, and yeah, I mean, not too many from in behind actually have run well since in that race, but as a rule, generally, then yeah, it is good races, and yeah, he's probably won that quite impressively, really. Nice horse to look at. No excuses for the favourite. New Kingdom had a perfect run round, and just found Island Falcon with that better turn of foot where it mattered, really.
There is the man who's won now 419 races in the UAE. Saeed Bin Saror, Godolphin's original trainer since the early 90s, and he might just have a nice horse on his hands here, this son of Ifraj, Island Falcon. But what an enterprising ride by Dane O'Neill. I thought he'd nicked it for most of the race on Piero.
He ran well, didn't he? Out in front. Not sure we can take too much about whether the winds are factor in helping the front runners, but this horse was certainly putting his experience to good use, and hung on for third, which was a good run in the end. Said Marib has probably seen things out okay and staying on down the outside to finish fourth, but just these two Godolphin horses, they both had potential after just 2 starts, and be interesting to see what Saeed has. I mean, he wouldn't have had too many, well, there haven't been too many options for 3-year-olds on the turf in recent years, but whether he thinks this one is one of his better 3-year-olds going back to England for the summer.
We had the Maidan Classic and the Maidan Classic Trial on the turf in the past, didn't we? Have they gone?
I think they've been renamed.
They've been replaced by this Jumeirah Turf Series. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know if Saeed does plan to go on to the Jumeirah Derby with this horse.
More sort of staying types.
He
now,
doesn't he?
The longer term ones. So the programme previously wouldn't have fitted that type of horse, really, whereas this horse has looked to relish every yard of the 9 furlongs.
He did win one of the Maidan races with the races that were called Maidan, not at Maidan, obviously, with a filly. I think he ran her on the dirt the week before and switched her back onto the turf, and she won one of them. Might have been called Pure Diamond, possibly, if memory serves. But anyway, he'll be delighted with yet another carnival winner. Saeed, who's got some nice chances later on, but I did think this was one of them. I just thought the manner of his victory was quite good at Nottingham, in that he only won pretty snugly by a nose, but was doing all his best work late on. And the crowd are already getting pretty excited, although that might have knocked a few of them out of the pick six. So there was a lot of strength behind this favourite New Kingdom.
Probably, yeah, but they all seem to prefer a Saeed winner to a Charlie winner, don't they?
I guess Saeed's been around for longer, hasn't he?
Exactly,
and he's Emirati, and they are very, very loyal. The crowd here looks a big crowd actually over in the public enclosure. There's Frankie with his catapult. Get one? Yeah,
we got one.
You can tell by whether or not he takes his feet out, can't you? If he takes his feet out coming into the winner's enclosure, then he doesn't do a flying dismount. That's Yeah, Frank. It's nice to have Frankie back in the blue. It kind of feels like we've gone back in time, doesn't it? Him winning for Sabinster, like in so many carnivals years gone by. We'll take another look at this race and see if we can see any incidents. The start, Al Mofti, who is one of the greys, was a bit unlucky. Kind of got squeezed out, and it rather set him alight, and he went off in front or tried to. Was a little bit keen there under Ray Dawson, and then even though he wants to go faster than Dane wants to let in, this Piero straight into the lead and hanging a little bit, pulling a little bit, but actually then once he kind of settled a bit in front, he did look like he was going to win it for much of it, I thought.
I mean, a lot of times you'll see this, especially from these American-bred horses. They just like to go fast early, and once they get into a nice rhythm like this, I mean, he was fine. He's got speed up and down, dirt up and down on his pedigree. Maybe he's one that has more stamina than we expect, and that's why they ran him in this spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's one we see go maybe to like a best Kia trial.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Ben, as I mentioned, good trainer, Ben Olsen. He's not afraid to run them on the dirt, and this one very much got the dirt breeding, although hard spuns are very good on the turf, as I said a few times before. Said Murray about the bottom. Paul Yesmore Rich might be heading to a sale fairly soon, I'd say. He struggled again here on the second surface they've tried him on, but the winner, though, getting just a lovely run through the race under Frankie Dettori on the rail. Yep. About 3 from the back at the moment in the all blue. Great position to be in, and he's very much tracking William Buick on New Kingdom, who's
hunting
had
him.
to ask for the effort early. I was surprised to see him really sort of asking the horse to race as early as he did on New Kingdom.
Yeah, maybe he just wasn't traveling as well as he would have liked.
I think he kind of felt he probably had to get after him quicker.
He probably
than
knew he was being hunted at the same time by Frankie behind him. And Frankie had the perfect split at the top of the lane and just had a better kick in the long run. Really no excuses for many except for Al Mufti from the start of the race. KO Shark was just a bit too keen early, and that cost him many lengths. I don't know what he'll do out of this, but he probably should come on from the run. I'm most excited about Piero for how he's going to come out of this race and what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, he won a couple of races before this.
He's been honest in his entire career.
Yeah, he won at Jägersro, and then he won at Kloppenburg in Denmark on his most recent outing back in November. So it's another one who could just derive a little bit of fitness from this. I imagine Dane will be keen to keep them out.
I like that he's not being abused.
Shadwell don't need him next time.
I like that he's not being abused and he's still trying under Dane, and that's where he's really going to need if they switch him to the dirt and they try these 9.5 furlong races.
Yeah, absolutely. With his way of going about things, it would be a nice one. But this is another good-looking colt, isn't it? Island Falcon. Ifraj out of a Dubawi mare. Doesn't get much better than that, really. I love Ifraj's. I think he's a cracking sire. They go on the dirt as well, and Saeed loves to put one on the dirt. I wouldn't be surprised, you know.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked at all. He looks like one very much in the same wind. It might because of the stamina he obviously has. I mean, because when they start him at Nottingham, that's a 1,700 race. It's farther than most of the horses are running at that time of the year. Starts him off here in 1,800. Wouldn't be surprised if he's the type that he does go to the Bastakia and hopes to kind of move into the UAE Derby that way. Because
we've got the Bastakia trial as well. I guess it depends what Saeed's got in the 3-year-old dirt colt division that he's going to depend on what happens with his dirt horses, but this could well be one, because as you mentioned earlier on, and Stephen mentioned, if you were to win the Jumeirah Derby over the 2,000 metres on the turf, you've kind of got nowhere to go apart from the UAE Derby or back to Europe.
I mean, that's typical. Saeed's never afraid to go that route and then try to get into the big race he did last year, going into the World Cup. Yeah,
he always does surprise us. The days going up to World Cup night, he'd like to have a runner in the big race, and doesn't mind switching the odd horse surfaces to give it a go. He's a very sporting trainer in that regard. Frankie Dettori now 186 from 804 rides here in Dubai, with a bit of a gap in between. I don't actually think he missed any carnivals. He may have missed one carnival, but during the time he wasn't riding for good old Finn, he was still over here fairly often riding for different people.
It's really nice to see him kind of, we know it's a victory lap, right? We know he's coming home to where he's at that point in his career where he picks and chooses his rides and the yards for whom he rides, and he's making himself as happy as possible, and that's really admirable, to be honest.
And he's still the world's most famous jockey by a furlong.
Yeah, I mean...
The thing I get asked most, oh, do you know Frankie Dettori? Is what people just want to know. Right, let's hear from our winning connections.
Yeah, enjoyed by Saeed bin Suroor after the victory of Island Falcon. Well done, Saeed. He looks a nice, strong 3-year-old, a horse that you've always liked.
He's doing good. I mean, he won a race in England, and the horse he improved. He's a big, strong horse, but he showed some class in the morning when he worked. Then also he looked for a trip. Even maybe next time we find like could be maybe for the mile and a quarter for him on the turf. But the horse is doing good, in good form. Then we're looking for better races for him.
And this new turf program for 3-year-olds out here, it really suits, doesn't it?
Suits much better. This is a very good program now. Like, I mean, we're happy with that, and we have a selection for horses to run in different trip. That's much better now.
You're looking forward to Bedouin Story and Land of Legends, two of your stalwarts now, I guess, aren't they?
Doing good, and Bedouin Story, Frankie, he knows him well, and he won with him, and also he won a Newmarket, big race. Then he's doing good, he's good form. We'll see how it goes tonight, but so far he's doing very good in the morning.
And the cold, windy, it's like Newmarket here.
It is, so far.
Many congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to be hearing plenty more from Saeed as the carnival goes on. So really excited to see Real World back in action next week for him. He looked an absolute monster in the Fradering earlier on. Didn't look entirely happy to be here, mind you. I'm not sure he likes this course, but he just looked absolutely brilliant. So looking forward to seeing him, as I said, in 7 days' time. And let's bring you a bit more information about the rest of tonight's card, because locally, Bhupat Seemar is absolutely flying in his first season with a licence. And earlier on this week, he gave Stephen the lowdown on his runners this evening. Really thanks for talking to us, Suzanne. And you're excited about Steinar, aren't you? He looks a gorgeous big colt.
Yeah, it's very nice, and he's been doing everything we asked him to do. So, yeah, nice horse.
And you said to me the other day, he's a proper American horse. He's got a wonderful pedigree.
Yes, he's what when you think about American horses, you think about him, how he looks, the way he's moving and everything.
Is he one that was bought specifically for Dubai?
No, we actually bought him for the Swedish Derby.
But he's done nothing wrong over there. He's won both his starts.
Yes, and the last race was it was mild, so, and that suits him better. I mean, he's not a sprint type. He's more like a 2,000 meter plus horse.
Okay. So you feel like this is just a starting point for him with a view to the Guineas?
Yeah, and I mean, then you get to see all the things happening around the races here, and yeah, well, we get him started. He's been working well here. He's adjusting really good here, and I'm really happy with him. So I hope it's not so many horses, tough race, but I mean, I hope he can finish well in the end.
Of all the horses that you've brought here over the years, is he one that's been exciting you more than some of the others?
Yeah, well, in a different way, because he's like, I think he's going to do well here. And then we have like a plan for him at home too. So I think it's really good to toughen them up, to take them here and hopefully do well. Yeah.
You put Fernando on board. Has he come and had a sit on the horse?
Yeah, he rode him 2 times here, galloping, and he's very pleased with him.
Oh, one more thing I was going to ask. Tell me about the name Steinar, because I don't know it, but a lot of TV fans will.
Yeah, he's named after a Norwegian actor is in Game of Thrones. He's big and red hair, and Steinar is big and red. You may have noticed that was not Bhupat Seemar, that was Suzanne Berner-Clint, and I should learn how to read my own running order. Suzanne really likes this colt coming up at Steinar. I think he can run a big race for her. He's a really gorgeous big colt, as you saw there in that little video. And she's a shrewd trainer, had a couple of carnival wins already with Eikirk, who's back again. I think will be in action in a couple of weeks' time. And she's also, of course, won over here with Plata O Plomo. So she's a good trainer. And she's very much been hands-on right throughout the carnival. They did manage to get some of the Scandinavian horses here a little bit earlier this year, which is what they planned to do, because of course they're coming from sub-zero temperatures over there, particularly in Norway where Niels Petersen trains, and it really is so difficult for him to get the horses here
from the thick snow to come to what is normally, I'm frozen right now, but normally very warm temperatures here in Dubai, coming from sort of -10 and things like that they're training in over there. It's very, very difficult for them to adapt and for their coats to come right. So that is perhaps why some of the Scandinavian trainers have struggled over the years. But interesting to see how Steinar gets on in this Guineas trial. And as you heard there, she's got a bigger objective to him later on, the Swedish Derby being the main aim, and that is a race that takes place in mid-July. Let's hear more, though, on our third race tonight. Stephen's got all the vital info.
It's not getting any calmer out here. The wind has just got up again in time for our third of three-year-old races. The UAE 2000 Guineas Trial is our next contest. This one due off at 7:10. The full conditions, as you can see, this is sponsored by Azizi. Over the 1,400 metres, of course, we'll be stepping up to a mile for the Guineas itself in a few weeks' time. A couple of Southern Hemisphere bred horses in here, including Kiefer for Hector Lazo and Ricardo Colombo. We then got Quality Boon, Antonio Sintra trains that one, Wagner Leal on board. Then Albar, Group 1 winner, carries a 3-kilo penalty as a result. He is the mount of William Buick. We've then got Hear the Drums for Patrick Cosgrave and Niels Peterson. Number 5 is Majir. Ahmed bin Hamash trains this one. Night of Luxury for Saeed bin Suror, still a maiden. As is Rawi, has finished second on both his starts so far. And finally, Steiner, just heard about him from Susanna Berner-Clint. This one 2 from 2 in the mount of Fernando Hara.
Really looking forward to this race, and often the UAE Guineas Trials had a bit of a small field, not a great deal of international flavour, but we've got a really international race today, and the two Uruguayan ones are absolutely fascinating. Kiefer is unbeaten, he's 3 from 3 so far, and then we've got Quality Boon, and of course we saw what he did last time. He was so very impressive when winning a race. It's actually worked out really well with a couple of winners from that race, including Mayadeen, who went in at Jebel Ali last week. There's also been a couple that finished further back in the field that have since been placed. So it's a race that's worked out really well. And then, of course, we've got here the drums in here as well for the aforementioned Niels Peterson. And then Albahar, who brings in this Group 1 form, this intriguing Group 1 form from over in Canada. And then he was, of course, part of that remarkable Breeders' Cup weekend for Charlie Appleby that really was amazing in that the horse was scratched. And then, of course, we had the whole issue with modern games as well, and it went on to be a very, very good Breeders' Cup weekend for Charlie, but not with Albahar. Didn't get to take his chance, but he's a fascinating one in here, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. The horses are soon coming out into the parade ring. No surprise that Albahar is the favourite for this race, because he does have the best form. He's also getting weight off the Uruguayans, who incidentally, both of them based in Uruguay, but Kiefer's bred in Brazil and Quality Boon bred in Argentina, but because they're 6 months older, they give away the weight. But then Albahar has got a Group 1 penalties. He carries 57.5 kilos. The two South Americans carry 59 kilos. And here the drums and the other colts carry 54.5. So Steiner, who's an absolute unit, carries the lighter weight here. It's intriguing, isn't it? This Albahar, it's great to see him in this race, first of all.
I've been beating the put Albahar on dirt drum for a while, and multiple telecasts, multiple broadcasts. But I didn't want 6-4 in his dirt debut. But I do think that this is a perfect spot for him. It's a smaller field. It doesn't look like a very complicated pace scenario. The only thing that's complicated is him. He's very mercurial, and he's coming out here. I mean, he looks like a dirt horse. He looks like his brother, who's also a dirt horse. It's going to be a fun race. I feel like he's squarely the horse to beat on his best form, but there are a couple in here that are being overlooked.
Well, Uruguay have been fab so far this season. We've had 2 wins for Antonio Sintra, and this one goes for Ricardo Colombo. This is Kiefer. Ricardo's actually had runners here in Dubai before. He actually had his first runners here in 2002 and returned a few times. Had a runner here in 2017. Yet to place. Maybe Kiefer can place though for him, because as I said, he's 3 from 3 at Moronias, and they brought over Hector Lazo, the champion jockey from Uruguay. He's actually from Brazil, but races in Uruguay to ride him. So they've left no stone unturned.
He looks great.
He does look good, doesn't he?
He's being well supported on the market at 3-1. He's a second choice. And, you know, that's a lot, considering Quality Boons has won a race here and is slightly higher in the market, which to me says that they really respect him, right? They really respect his chances here, and that probably has also a bit to do with Hector Lazo coming over for the ride.
This is quality Boone, and I thought his win was all the more impressive, bearing in mind he hadn't been here long, and it was coming off a reasonably long break. From June was the time that he raced before, and he won here in December. Did it the hard way from gate 14, swooped past and won by a length in the end in a reasonable time, and it was a good victory, and I say the forms worked out well.
Yeah, but the major worry with him would be the different dynamic of this race. It's going to be a more tactical race with just with half the horses that he faced last time. He's not going to have the same. He may or may not have the same pace in front of him. It depends on what Gabriel Maloon decides to do on Night of Luxury from the rail, whether or not he's going to send from there and try to take on a Rawi from the front or a Kiefer. So there's a lot of questions here, but the sure thing about Quality Boone is that he will come running. It's just whether or not he's going to have, horses to pick up.
This is Hear the Drums, who's 1 from 1 on the dirt. That win came at Carreras over the 1,730 metres. And so that suggests that he's dropping back in trip here. He should be all right. He's also won on the turf. I'd never heard of his sire, Appel Ulmetra, so I looked him up. He was a champion 2-year-old in Scandinavia a few years ago, and he stands in Denmark. Patrick Cosgrave riding this one for Niels Peterson. That hood will come off.
Yeah, he's full of himself right now. He's enjoying the weather, that's for sure.
I'm pretty sure it's -10 here, to be honest. I can't feel my hands.
I love it, to be honest, but it is a little chilly. And as a bald man, I definitely feel every bit of it. But back to Hear the Drums, I do think that he'll probably run fairly well here. Likely outrun his market, which is about 33-1, almost 40-1 right now. So the Scandinavians consistently come in here, and we'll get to another one soon, and outrun their odds in dirt races.
This is a horse who's been pretty much unconsidered, considering he's 1 from 1. If he was trained by Godolphin, he'd be half the price. He's 12 to 1 around about. He won from stall 11, beating Street Mood, who has been beaten since. It was a good effort, really, on debut. They put the visor on. It was not a great time. It did come back in at the start of December, but he's not like he's done anything wrong.
No, not at all. I would have liked to have seen an increase in distance for him, just to move up and sort of even the playing field a bit. Because these horses are going to be, stronger and more mature that he's going to face this time. It's a better field he's facing this time. Street Mood came back and didn't really frank the form. May have run one too many races, to be honest. But Mujir comes back with a big break. It goes either way with me. He either runs a race that is kind of plain, how the ho-hum, like mid-pack, or he improves again and he's in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a course and distance win. That's got to count for something. This is Night of Luxury, who, despite postponed, has the second go on the dirt this evening. Didn't particularly enjoy the muddy track last time. Was 4th in what was a pretty bad race, I thought, behind Conglomerate.
Yeah, I mean, he showed a bit of pace that day. I think the only thing that they can really do with him is send from the rail and hope that he's fast enough to hold his position. And maybe that will kind of upend other people's plans at that point. This is a perplexing race when it looks at the pace scenario, but he's definitely a key part of it. And Gabriel Maloon is a very good young rider with a very good clock in his head, so we'll see what he does.
Already registered a win here in the UAE, Gabriel. His first season riding here. There is Niels. We're not going to miss those silks, are we? They're great. I love those. Stall Trick or Treat is the owner of Hear the Drums. He'll be their 12th runner here in the UAE. This is Rawi. They like this colt. But it's a bit of a quick turnaround. Do we think Al Muhajim, who finished 3rd behind him, and Sadati at Jebel Ali last week upheld the form of that race?
A bit, but he's, Al Muhajim went to the surface he should be on and then ran well on it. So there's an asterisk next to that. This horse running there in the first place was the question mark at Jebel Ali. It really wasn't a sign of confidence in his form.
No, it wasn't, was it?
Coming back here.
Let's hear from the parade ring, Stevens, with Antonio Sintra.
Yeah, Antonio Sintra's got Quality Boone here. Good to see you, Antonio, and a horse that I think impressed everybody when he won here. Did that surprise you a few weeks ago?
He ran very well. I was expecting a good race. Was better than my expectation, and I hope run very well again. He stay good. I think he will run very well.
Obviously, you won a 3-year-old race last year with El Patriota. How good is this horse compared to him, do you think?
They are a little bit different, but I think this one is better than El Patriota.
That's interesting. And you got a Hustel Fiscal later. Looking forward to stepping him back up in trip?
I expecting a better race for Juste Fiscal. Now in 10 furlongs, much better for him. He's doing very well in the morning. I waiting for a good race.
And are you pleased with how they've all travelled and how so far this season has gone for you here?
Oh, I hope a better season than last year. We start very well. I expecting keep like this.
And how did Bet Law come out of his win last week? Is he good?
Yeah, he stayed very good. He's a very strong horse. The race, nothing for him. And we were thinking about the next race. I'm not decided yet.
Indeed. Well, we wish you all the best here. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Well, we mentioned that Albahar, the favourite's a little bit tricky to deal with. He's had special dispensation from the stewards, and he just came into the parade ring now. There he is. And William got on him right behind us. He didn't do a circuit. He went straight out, accompanied by the outrider on the pony, as you can see. So they didn't complete the circuit of the parade ring, which is a shame for the fans who are now, for some reason, confined to the far side. But actually, you've got to do what's right by the horse, and they've got permission to do that. And they're just trying to keep a lid on him and avoid what happened in the States.
Yeah, I mean, he's, as you said, he's a volatile sort, and he has his own opinions about what he wants. He's definitely looking around. They haven't resorted to any, particular equipment with him so far, and change things up. So I feel like it's just a mentality thing. I feel like his maturity is going to come to himself. His best, I mean, we're assuming that he's going to transfer form over to dirt. That'll be interesting because he does need to probably have some cover. He does, not some cover. He does probably need to sit second, third, fourth in order to make a run. All of his victories have been with a target in front of him, so he's going to have to take dirt today.
Charlie's won this race a couple of times with Goldtown and with Rebels Romance last year. This race did give us the Guineas winner last year because Muhib was second to Rebels Romance. Just evaluate for me Albahar's form. I mean, that Natal Stakes, I'd love to go to Woodbine. It's Summer Stakes, sorry. It's not the strongest Grade 1 in the world.
No, I mean it's Canadian Grade 1, so I mean it's sometimes a bit of an asterisk when you compare it to, say, European form. But I feel like it would be a proper Group 2 group in the UK. Usually some decent American turf horses go up there. Chad Browns and Bill Motts will go up and try to get their Grade 1 in that race. To me, what was most impressive about it is when Frankie rode him that day, he just rode him with a lot of confidence, and he tipped him out, he got him really in the clear, kind of out by himself, and just buried them immediately. He's got a nice turn of foot on him. I don't expect him to turn over that quickly on this kind of a surface, but he does remind me in action and in build of Imperial Empire, his brother, who has 2 wins this season and ran a bang-up 6th last week in round 1.
That was a very good run from Imperial Empire. He loves this dirt surface. And I suppose Grafton Street that he beat in the Summer Stakes ran a really good race in the juvenile turf.
Yeah, I mean, so Grafton Street came back. Who's one of the prettiest horses I've ever seen in my life. He's a almost 17-hand 2-year-old. He came back and ran a huge race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, so there was some franking of that form. But I will say that Grafton Street is also a Mark Casse horse, and Mark Casse horses are types that he's like a Dallas Stewart or, a type where he puts a circle around the big race. The horses are meant to run their biggest races in the biggest spots, and the prep races are just that.
Kiefer doesn't look all that enthusiastic to go forward. Let's show you his most recent win. This was a listed race, the Clásico Argentina over in Maronias in Uruguay. It was over the 1,500 metres, and he wins it quite comfortably. It's kind of hard to gauge the form, really, because although Quality Boon won over the same 1,400 metres, the track condition was different. It was heavy when Quality Boon won, so we can't really compare the times.
Yeah, it's about a 3 furlong stretch there too at Moronis, isn't it? So he definitely had to beat, and he switched leads as they turned for home. So he was on the proper lead for a good 3 furlongs, which is not easy for a horse that's young to do. I thought that was very professional. It looked like a training run, to be honest. I think he's a serious horse in this spot. He's easy to go against, but at the same time, you can understand why he is 3-1.
Doesn't look the easiest, does he, there?
Yeah, he's got opinions about whatever's happening right now. And
son of Drosselmeyer, out of a Macho Uno mare.
So he's got a lot of stamina in there.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him staying either. Stephen's back from the parade ring. You wouldn't see much of Albahar, the favourite, because he was in and out.
Yeah, just briefly as he walked past us all. Yeah, looked fine. Obviously, they've taken all precautions, bearing in mind what happened in America, but the issue might be when he gets down to the start rather than here. So we'll see how he goes. The two Southern Hemisphere bred horses, as you'd expect, they look just that bit stronger. They are 6 months and up of older. And really not a great else to say. We've seen him in the morning that Steiner is quite an impressive looking horse. He's got hooves like dinner plates, and I think he'll certainly outrun his odds of 33 to 1. I can see him finishing ahead of 1 or 2, but Quality Boon was the one for me. I know this is just a local handicap, but he was carrying 61 kilos. He was rated 90. The form's good. The third and fourth have both won since. A few further behind have all run placed since, and just like the way he quickened from off the pace, really. Hard to know how the wind is going to affect how the track rides, or sort of how tactically it's going to pan out. If you get the odd gust that was around in the parade ring and straight into the horses' faces, you're not going to want to be in front too soon. So if he's ridden similarly to how he was then that could play to his strengths. But other than that, I mean, where else is the pace probably going to come from? I'd say Rory would be the likeliest one to go forward, wouldn't he?
Knight of Luck will go.
He's interesting, Rory, isn't he? And Mikey made a good point. Him running at Jebel Ali, I think Sadati could be headed for the Guineas, the horse that beat them. He could be quite smart. But him running there last week seemed a bit of a strange move, bearing in mind he's been quite well talked up, this colt.
Yeah, and he was entered in the 1200 metre race here that Betlaw won. So kind of felt as though they could have run here, and it might have been a bit of an afterthought to throw him in this week. But yeah, he's bumped into two good horses, steps up in trip, and they this race has come up fairly light. Let's make no bones about it, certainly in terms of numbers. So why not have a go? There definitely would have been a time where maidens and unrated horses wouldn't have got in this. So yeah, he'll serve a purpose in going forward, but I don't quite know whether he's good enough at this stage to beat those with established form.
Rory has won the best standout, sponsored by Bassett Equewell, 650 dirhams going to his groom. It's not easy to win with a grey because they just don't shine, but there he is. He's not the best looking horse in the world either, but well done to the groom from Salem bin Gadea's yard. Salem back in form with a nice double at Jebel Ali on Friday. There's a quick look at Majia. What's your opinion on Majia?
He looked good.
He's been a bit ignored.
Yeah, I like the way he looked in the parade ring. Obviously his maiden win came a bit out of the blue. I think he was second string on the day, and obviously the form's not really worked out with Street Mood having been beaten on several occasions. So he's obviously going to step up, but I like the fact they've kept him fresh. 6 weeks off since that debut, and Ahmed bin Hamash has pulled similar rabbits out of the bag in 3-year-old races before.
He has, and he's run well earlier on. I'm going to go with Quality Boon here. You can't presumably desert Albahar, Mikey.
I can't, but on the bottom, I think Steiner's going to run a big race.
Yeah, I think so too. Final thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Quality Boon. I like the way he faced the dirt, came through experienced horses, and hopefully the track suits the way he's ridden here.
So it's Uruguay versus UAE versus Norway versus Sweden in this race. Intriguing stuff for a UAE 2000 Guineas trial.
Kiefer will be next. Albar just being kept out of the way of the stalls for now. There's Kiefer Winton. Albar, the last one. Loads quietly. UAE 2000 Guineas trial. Ready. Starter's not happy. Is it Albar? We'll get confirmation now.
Get the one next to him out. Need to open the front chain.
It's not Albar, it's the neighbours. For here, the drums has been scratched at 7:11. Good to go. Gates are back, and they're racing. With Steinar slowest to begin, Elbar was just a step slow. Roy wasn't. Roy was out in a flash as a length and a half in front of Mujir. Then comes Knight of Luxury slipping through against the inside to race in third. Just ahead of Quality Boon, who's just ahead of Elbar. They fourth and fifth, and they race about 4 lengths off the leader. 2 back to Kiefer, and Steinar's racing at the end of the field. It's Roy in the lead, but stacks them up down the back straight. In front by a little less than a length as Mujir races in second, just ahead of Knight of Luxury, who hugs the rail in third. Quality Boons in the orange sleeves and the orange cap, racing away in fourth and about 3 lengths off the leader, with half back to Elbar. Then we go 2 lengths away to Kiefer, and Steinar is out at the end of the field. Down the side of the track they go, and towards the 600 metres mark, and it's Roy in the lead now by half a length. Mujir right there in second. Then comes Quality Boon. Elbar forced out deep but in the open. Knight of Luxury's been asked a few questions. There we go, a length back to Kiefer, and Steinar at the end of the field. They homeward bound, and Roy gave a kick. In front by 2 lengths over Mujir is second. Then Quality Boon. Elbar's got his back to the wall here, and he's racing about 5 lengths off the leader. Kiefer is next best, but it's Roy in the lead. Still got a 3-length advantage. Quality Boon and Kiefer are doing their best work late, but they're running out of real estate here, and it's Roy who's played them on the break. Roy won, second Quality Boon, third to Kiefer, then came Mujir. They're ahead of Elbar, Knight of Luxury, and further back to Steinar.
Well, they did say they liked him. And how good is Sadati then? That beat him last week, just a few days ago at Jebel Ali. This horse was pretty soundly beaten up the hill, but he has hosed up tonight, Mikey. He came with a nice profile. He's obviously just thrived off the quick turnaround.
Yeah, maybe just needed the fitness and experience, and after all, this is probably all the plan.
Yeah, we know connections are pretty enterprising, and I suppose if nothing else, he was very, very fit, because a run up the hill will do that to you.
Yeah, exactly that, and stepping up a bit in trip as well. And we keep mentioning the wind. It's a typically British thing to do, but you kind of wonder what sort of an impact that's had as well, whether he's been able to the benefit of that, and the others have just struggled. He's obviously made a fairly decisive move off the bend as well, and the others have closed late but never ever looked like going or getting to him. So yeah, those first 2 runs were kind of every chance runs really, but he's stepped up a lot today for being able to dominate this lot. And I suppose you can make excuses for 1 or 2 of the others. Elbar maybe didn't like the surface. Quality Boon plugged on without staying on to the same effect he did last time. Kiefer just got a bit too far behind really, and was asked a lot to do in the straight. So for me, an element of him having nicked this, but they certainly, the yard are well versed in getting good 3-year-olds, so maybe he is just a good horse.
It's almost Panadol-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's creepy good. Just very impressive. Out the gate, he got him flying, as Mikhail usually does, and it was quite impressive. I like the second gear he showed, the re-brake at the top of the lane, which is always interesting to see at this point for these young horses. But he does come in with the most recent form, and he should have been the fittest horse in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. He said just less than a week, 6 days since he was second at Jebel Ali last week, and that horse that beat him of His Highness Sheikh Ahmed, Sadati, will have strengthened his Guineas credentials by doing nothing this evening. So I'm sure Jebel Ali team are pretty happy with this. It wasn't a cheap purchase, Roy. He cost $240,000 over at the Carla, the March sale. They were quick out the blocks with buying their 2-year-olds last year. The RRR team, Sheikh Rashid bin Huwaid Al Nuaimi is the owner of this one, and he'll be a bit of recompense, I suppose, because he didn't manage to run Gladiator King, who wanted to run later on, of course, suffered a little abscess. So he'll be delighted, I'm sure, to have another exciting one on his hands here.
Yeah, nice little consolation there. And this horse will be, I think he showed today that he enjoyed the extra furlong as well. I don't think he'll always be out balls to the wall and trying to go to the front in every single race like this. I think he'll enjoy stretching out to a mile, especially with the tiz now on the bottom. I think he is bred to handle up to a mile at least.
I think Al-Bahar, I don't know if it's just a fitness thing. I mean, he hadn't raced since September. All of these, including Kiefer, who shipped in from the other side of the world, have run more recently. Maybe it was that.
as much as the surface?
To me, I mean, I think he seemed to handle the surface fine. I feel like it might have been a fitness thing. To me, he probably needed to be a little bit more involved than he was and less hung out to dry. I know he was keeping him a bit safe and in the 3 and 4 path and the outside, not really taking a lot of dirt. But I feel like he was one that probably need to be a little more involved. I'll give him another shot on it, though.
I wonder if Charlie will keep him on the dirt or go back to the turf, or even just draw stamps altogether with Dubai and take him back to Europe as a nice fit horse. I feel a bit sorry for the Uruguayans here. I think they're both running really good races. But vastly inferior by 2 lengths anyway. They were giving away a chunk of weight though. Both Kiefer and Quality Boon carried 59 kilos, just to the 54 and a half. But you can see physically, Stephen, why really. I mean, Rory's just so unfurnished, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Much smaller model than the others. Interesting to see or feel whether he'll go a mile. Obviously started off over 6. You wouldn't exactly say he was flagging at the end there, but the other 2 were closing. The other thing to note about Albar is he had a 3 kilo Group 1 penalty as well. So, you know, that could have told on him, but it was still a little bit lifeless in finishing 5th. But Rory, Salem Bin G'day, not had a great season, but I think you mentioned 2 winners at Jebel Ali last week, so maybe that's a sign they've turned the corner to a degree.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if he could take a good second half of the season or a good first half of the season, he'd say second half. Sandeep Jadhav on the left in the blue suit.
He may not look it.
Abdullah Moama.
He may not look it, but I think this horse could get the Derby distance if they needed him to. I don't think he had any problem. He's a miler to a mile and an eighth on top, and all a mile and a quarter to a mile and a half on the bottom on the dirt.
So no concerns there then, and presumably they'll take in the Guineas on the way. Why wouldn't you? Let's take a look at it again. He's nicely into stride with Rory. Mikhail very keen to get him into the lead. I thought Quality Boon, it was always going to happen really in a smaller field. He saw quite a lot of daylight. Wasn't keen as such, but didn't have a great deal of cover. Majir ran well actually, finished 4th. He's the one who's kind of tracking the leader most at this stage of the race. And Al-Bahar as well in the blue cap towards the outside, also no cover for him.
Yeah, no cover. I mean, he got a little bit of dirt when the leader crossed over in front of him, but that's about it. He lost a lot of ground on the bend. Got a real he got a bit pushed here as well by the eventual runner-up. And at that point it's just he's losing ground. He's experiencing something new. It was a good starting point. At this point, he either is going to move forward or he's going to drop back. There's no way around it at this point.
Just watching the run of Kiefer there, he's actually made up a lot of ground.
Yeah, he did.
He wasn't unlucky in any way, but he had to sort of switch around them. And at this point, he's flown home. That was a really good run. With the benefit of looking at it again, he's come past the favourite there, Al-Bahar, like he's standing still. That was a very, very good effort. Quality Boon's kind of helped him in a way, and they've chased forlornly the winner. But that was a mighty effort from this colt, who didn't look entirely straightforward going to the start. And I'd say you've come on a good deal for that. Just for the experience of being here more than anything else. So he could be a very interesting one with the Guineas in mind, bearing in mind he's already won over the 1,500 metres.
Very smart time, 1:24.32, especially for these young 3-year-olds.
Yeah, the track record is held by Golden Goal. 1:22.69 is the track record for this 1,400 metres. Set a year ago today.
It's about 8 lengths off of that, which is not bad at all.
Bad at all. And here's the Guineas. It is on the February the 11th. 150,000 in the pot for the UAE 2000 Guineas Group 3. If we were to price it up now, who would we have as favourite? This horse or the one who beat him at Jebel?
Probably him over the.
Yeah.
This is the course, and this looks like this is. Coming over here, that horse, I don't know if he's as good as, say, like Amuhib was last year. Nicholas's horse from Jebel Ali, but I was very impressed with this. The most impressive part to me was when they turned for home and he switched leads. You can see it on the side view. He really stretches for that first furlong of the straight and puts some distance between the rest of them. He's packed up in the end. It's not like he's getting tired. He just sort of doesn't abuse him in the last 100 meters. But in the first 100 meters of the straight, it was very, very, very good. he put them to bed.
Yeah, thoroughly professional, isn't he?
Yeah, very straightforward type. He's a bit boxy, you know, a bit of a pit bull in his build. He, which is not too dissimilar from Frosted, in that regard. I'm excited to see what he does stretching out because I feel like he has more gears there. He was very much listening to everything Mikhail was telling him to do, flipping his ears a little bit through the run. And I feel like he's going to stretch out just fine as long as he doesn't, you know, as long as he's not hell-bent to get to the front.
It's actually Mikhail's first time riding, Rory.
Yeah,
It's
which is
partnered by Royston
definitely-
French. His first 2 starts.
Definitely something to watch moving forward.
Mikhail wouldn't be a particularly common rider at Jebel Ali. In fact, I don't know who's ever ridden there. Frosters have done well here, haven't they? Had a winner with his very first runner here across the ocean last year.
And he won on the surface, so that all helps as well.
Yeah, he did. Maximum Challenge round 2.
And I mean, that's not a surprise at all. They really do. They seem to handle all surfaces though. Back home, they've been handling the turf as well and the all-weather, but it's very much handed down directly from Tappet. There's just a lot of versatility in their pedigree and just their action.
Okay. Well, the horse who beat Rory's first time out was called Summer Is Tomorrow, and he's trained by Bhupat Seema, who we can hear from now about his runners on tonight's card.
Start with your runners on Friday, Bhupat, and part in it goes in the Al Rashadir. It's a fairly new horse. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's a fairly new horse. He's only had 2 runs. He won first time out in the Provence in France. And next time out, he was in a group race, and he ended up running second. The race was kind of deceiving because they went, typically France, they went really slow and then they quickened. And the front 2 horses, they were sitting in front the whole way, and that's how they finished. But he's new, he's inexperienced, he's been to Maidan, he's had a good gallop. You know, we'll see how he goes.
And because of that great race, he obviously comes fairly highly rated. And was this the first basically opportunity you had to get him on the grass here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, he came a little bit late, and yeah, we couldn't. He's rated 107 or 8, and yeah, we couldn't run him anywhere else. So it's a good place to start, and we'll see where he is after that.
And nothing else, he'll gain a good bit of experience for the race, you think?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he'll get experience. Like I said, he's only had 2 starts. He's going to be running against horses who've had professionals around here. They've had a good few runs. So yeah, it'll make a man out of him, and you know, from there on, we can have a scale on him where he is.
And then the race that really should be known as the Reynaldo the Wizard Stakes, the Dubai. He's a race you've got a good record in, and Freedom Fighter, another new horse. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's a new horse. You know, he came from America. He's a good horse. He was running against the 3-year-olds in America. It's a different thing when you're running from your 3-year-old campaigns to older horses. Older horses are seasoned sprinters. But to me, he probably wants to go a little bit longer. 6 is the minimum he wants. It could be a 7 or a mile horse. But he's training well. He's doing really good. It's just unfortunate we couldn't have a few more troops in that race because we kept Switzerland to go to Saudi. And Gladiator King just popped an abscess, so you know we just couldn't run him, but it was unfortunate. Well, we've got 2 in there.
I was going to say, it's actually turned out a fairly light race and probably a good opportunity to get him a bit more experience on the dirt in that smaller field than potentially what it could have been.
Yeah, true. I mean, I wish we would have had a run before. You know, but look, he's come from America. They always improve with races. And yeah, he should do well.
And then Bochart, unfortunately not drawn very well again. Has he just taken a bit longer this year, being that year older to come to hand?
I think it's just happening to Bhupat Seema draws. You know, it's just everything is out in the car park. Yeah. We got a few horses drawn quite far out. Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, every time now lately he's been drawn on the outside. So he'll probably have to get up there and burn the speed from outside.
And he's back to 6 furlongs. Is that just a lack of opportunities elsewhere for him more than anything else, or?
Well, I prefer to have run him next week in the 7 furlong condition race, but you know, the owner was more inclined to run here, so here we are.
And has he just maybe missed a beat at the start? His couple of outings this year, is there anything you could do with him at the stalls, or given his background, you just sort of let him get on with it?
Well, you know, his old jockey's back on him. You know, he knows him too well. Yeah. He's won a good few races on him, Richie Mullen. So, yeah, Richie knows his horse really well. I'm sure he's going to get him out of the gate.
And then you got a couple in the 2,000 metre race, which actually looks really strong, but Remorse, I know, is a horse that you quite like still.
Yeah, I really like that horse. We were a bit unlucky the last time. I mean, look, we got beat 3-4 lengths, but You know, if it was, you know, if the incidents didn't happen, we would have probably been closer. Who knows? You know, when you're. But yeah, he's training really well. He's got a good draw for a change. It's a proper race with Rebel's Romance in it, and Charlie's other horse who won last week or 2 weeks ago. But look, he's doing very well. So if he can get a bit of luck in the race, we should be right there.
And after those 2 runs early in the season, would it nice to have that month or 6 weeks off that he's had since then, just to freshen him up?
Yeah, exactly. That's how we planned it. From his last run, he had 2 back-to-back. He won in Jabalali at a mile, carrying a lot of weight, and then he ran well second the last time in the listed race. And yeah, we wanted to give him some time, and he's fresh, he's nice, he's doing good. And
then you've also got Salter in Dubai in that race again. He's, I don't think, done much favours with the draw, but as reliable as ever, judged on that first run.
Yeah, he's an old warrior. You know, he never knows how to run a bad race. But I think this is the deep field. But I don't mind that outside draw for him because he's slow out of the gate. He sits at the back, so, you know, it should be fine.
And would he be pointing towards the Jebel Ali Stakes with him as his main target again?
Yeah, that's where we're going to go. So we wanted to come here, and then, you know, I didn't think this race was going to be, you know, that tough. But it is what it is, and, you know, hopefully it'll give a good show.
I'm joined by Salem bin Qadea after the victory of Roy in the UAE 2000 Guineas. Is he a horse that disappointed you in his first 2 starts, or just improving with his racing?
No, at all. You know, first time out, as everyone saw, you know, just he was a bit green, you know, just always, you know, just when you run under the light, and I think he ran a good race. Also at Jebel Ali last week, you know, just I believe that, you know, just we got beaten by good horse, sprinter, like speedy horse. For this reason, you know, just I sat with Sheikh Rashid, racing manager Muammar, you know, just to check where's our position, you know, just if we still thinking about the 2000 Guineas or not, we must run this race. He's 3 years old, back to back, 1 week time. Could be a little bit, I mean, risky, you know, just to bring him back. But he come back after Jebel Ali race very well. He got recovery very soon. But as I say, you know, just we always pleased about him, and we believe about his ability. So alhamdulillah, you know, just he reached it, and he reached in a good race and a good time.
Maybe a cheeky question, but is he your best 3-year-old, or do you have better ones at home?
I mean, I still have 5 3 years old, you know, just as everyone know, you know, just in my yard, you know, just this season I have a little bit issue with the coughing. Most of the horses, you know, just with mucus, but alhamdulillah, you know, just we passed this point. I have made in Dubai. He's very nice horse, but he have little bit problem in his eye, and we make surgery. I think he will be one of the Sheikh Rashid have Muhaymin called. Is not ready yet, but no, so far, you know, just when you win a 2000 Guineas trial, so he must be a best one. So we'll say he's the best one so far.
Indeed. Well, many congratulations, Salem.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Salem bin Qadea, always really helpful. And actually, Mikey, we said before, they haven't had the best season. They're just starting to improve now. That explains it, if they've been coughing, a little bit under the weather.
Yeah, a little bit of a black cloud over the yard at this point, but the sun is shining, and I think that they're going to come on nicely. Hopefully that includes Panadol in the long run.
I'm glad the sun is shining where you are. It's still freezing in my half at the stage. This is our latest faces at the races. Well done to you, lady in the pink. She looks much warmer. Maybe that's the place to be.
She's having a great time.
She is having a great time. It's fantastic to have the crowds back here at Meydan. It really is brilliant. There is Muammar Abdullah and Abdullah Muammar. Oh no, just Abdullah Muammar on the left and Salem on the right. Big congratulations to them. A very exciting colt on their hands in Roy, and he's a horse that they first flagged up to me right in the summer. They said, we've got this frosted, we really like him. And yeah, he's certainly improved for his first 2 starts, and nice to see a bit of Jebel Ali form coming through strong at Meydan, and we'll have to pay special attention to what happens next time at Jebel Ali, because maybe it'll give us a carnival winner the week after.
Yeah, well, the thing is that there's, especially with these young horses, they consistently go back and forth, and you'll see horses that are using that hill as a chance to sort of either see whether or not they can go the extra furlong after when they come back to Meydan, or just to get them fit.
Yeah, it's not all that many horses that. It's a very different surface at Jebel Ali. There's quite a few horses you find that will go on turf and go on Jebel Ali dirt, but won't go on this more traditional dirt.
Yeah, I think that's whatever treatment they did, weather treatment they did to the surface there, and maybe a little bit with the hill as well. They got to climb a bit there. It sort of packs down. They really have to run over the top of the surface a lot more than they do here. Here, it's basically just sand. And when they were running on the sand, the weather does affect it a great deal, especially when the sun's out in the beginning of days like the World Cup. It can get a bit deep. But here, it's just, you're definitely going to cut into it. So what I look for is a nice dirt pedigree, and if it's a turf pedigree, you look for turf horses who can handle soft ground.
Yes, yeah, it works a lot, especially with pivotals. Let's head to Stephen for some more info on our next race.
Yeah, our next race is indeed the first of our group races on the turf for the Group 2 Al Rashidir. The full conditions for this race were over 1,800 metres for this. 9 furlongs, a prize fund of $180,000. And the full field is as follows. Art Duval heads them for William Buick, Charlie Appleby. Bedouin Story is the mount of Frankie Dettori. Then Bless Him, Callum Shepherd rides for David Simcock. Desert Fire, Hector Crouch. We then got Kick On, Lord Glitters, David O'Mara, Erasmo, Erzincan, Highland Avenue, Partonet and Royal Fleet completes the 11.
Yeah, a really exciting edition of Al Rashidir, a race that dates right back to 2002. Mike de Kock actually holds the record in this race. He's won it 8 times. Godolphin have won it 7 times. And can well win it again with Art Duval. Tentative first string, we think. Charlie Appleby has won this with Barney Roy and Zagusky.
This is probably his weakest first string he's ever had in the race. He could still win with it.
Absolutely.
But this is a spot where it's his chance to shine, to be honest. But the market is actually saying that they'd prefer sorts like Royal Fleet and possibly even Highland Avenue is actually getting some late support as well.
There's the Silks of Rabat, will be carried by Erasmo. Bedouin Story, he's a quirky old boy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's on his 3rd Dubai World Cup Carnival. He won here last season. He also won the Cambridgeshire, which is his kind of career highlight to date. Sabin Straw's won this race 5 times.
Outside of Lord Glitters, this race doesn't really quite live up to the grade. So this is a spot like for him to really step up into the Group 2 status. I feel like he does run his best here, and he runs anywhere with a flat, quick surface. And he gets the right jockey. 7-2 is a bit low on him, but I understand it considering your options outside of Lord Glitters.
Bless Him is the next one that we'll look at, I imagine. There's Charlie Appleby and his jockeys. David Loader, I think, there as well. Sophie Chrétien, long-standing, travelling head girl for Charlie. This is Bless Him for David Simcock, who had his last winner here in 2020. This horse ran 4th in this race last year. That was a good run. I think they're probably, I think David's already said on the record several times, we're going over there to pick up some checks, and he could well pick up a check again, but that's probably the best he'll manage.
Yeah, and he was 4th in this. He was 5th in the previously also scheduled at this time Singspiel.
Maybe I should say that in brackets after this race. At Rashidir, possibly they mix it up with the Singspiel.
It's all one race, but it's basically just a relay. But his best run, I thought, was very good in the Zabil Mile, where he lost by less than 2 lengths. He was right in the picture at the very end. Sad part is he made the smallest check out of it, because I think he was 6th in that spot. But he only lost by a length and 3/4. Serious horse, but a big price in here, and probably rightfully so, because he hasn't won in quite some time.
We just skipped over Desert Fire. We'll come back to him. This is Erasmo. Had some nice form for Godolphin France. He was pretty classy for them. Won a Group 3 at Chantilly. Mikel Barcelona rode him then. Andrea Zini gets on board for the first time. He's a half-brother to the Group 1 winner, Reckless Abandon. I did have a quick word with Ed Christopher earlier. He sort of implied that the horse would probably improve a bit for what he does today. This is Lord Glitters. Do we need to talk about Lord Glitters? Everybody know this horse's amazing achievement.
He's done so well, and he's really carried his racetrack with him, as we say back home, where it doesn't matter where he is, he just enjoys himself out there, and He's a bit ageless in that regard. This race, they need to go a big pace for him to make his best run. And also, he's the kind of horse that they have to time him out properly, especially on this 2.5 furlong straight.
He's just a fabulous horse. This is his 43rd start this evening, Lord Glitter. Of course, comes here arguably in better form than last year. He won the Bahrain Trophy this year. Last year he was 5th. This is Azerbaijan, who, as his name might suggest, is an Aga Khan graduate. Was previously with Dermot Well, picked up by Alex Marconi at the Goffs Autumn Sale, 160,000. Interesting son of Lupe de Vega. He's only won a couple of times from 12 starts. This is your Highland Avenue, very well bred gelding.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. The beginning of his career, he was beyond impressive. Like, and on both the all weather and on the turf. I think he's one that might actually handle the dirt eventually as well. He's a rare gray Dubawi in that. I feel like he's going to be very tough here. And how many times does Mikhail Barcelona have to get on a Charlie Appleby horse and beat the other more fancied Appleby horses for us to take notice? He consistently does this every year.
You heard from Bupat Seymour earlier on about Partenit, who's 1 from 1 over this distance. He was second in the Group 3 Prix-Daphne when last seen at Deauville back in August. This is Royal Fleet. I'm not surprised he's had a bit of a market support because he's only been beaten once in his career. A couple of things, obviously. Step up in trip, step up in grade.
Yeah, he's walking by us right now. He's a nice-looking horse, big shoulder on him. Typical Dubawi out of Dan Sealy, which to me means he's going to love every bit of the fast ground here. And that's where they've kept him. 3 of his last 4 races have been over good to firm going. He's going to get very close to that here. And he's just been quite impressive. The step up, you want to see, there's a horse running next out for Saeed, is very much in the same way in Storm Damage, with a stepping up in there full of confidence at the right time in their career. And that's what you want to see at the Carnival. But he still has to beat, the likes of Highland Avenue, the likes of his own stablemates, Bedouin Story, etc.
I would be more concerned about the trip almost than I would the grade, because as you mentioned, apart from Lord Glitters, who is just a rock star and they should name a race after him, it's not a very good Group 2. So there's not much depth in terms of proven Group horses in there. We skipped over Desert Fire, so we can go back to him. He's on his 3rd Dubai World Cup Carnival. He won on this card actually back in 2019 over a mile, and his run at Kempton last time was pretty good, over a lot further though. So he's dropping down in trip quite considerably, Desert Fire.
I like that though.
Yeah, well, he's 1 from 2 over this distance, so it shouldn't be an issue.
I feel like the drop and trip is ideal for him, whether it's a launching point onto to bigger and better races, whether they're looking at 1.25 mile races like the Dubai Millennium eventually, or if they're just going to get a feel for where he is, or take advantage of a weak Group 2. All these options are available. Whatever it is, at 28 to 1, he's way overpriced considering the yard, considering that that he's going to be primed to run one of his better races.
Pat Cosgrove's not had a fun day at the office so far, having not made it past the start in the last race, and now Kick On is going there sideways. Group 3 winner in Norway is Kick On, and chased home Square de Lune, who's Saudi Cup day bound in the Stockholm Cup, I think it was, which is a pretty good effort. That was a couple of...
He's always been well regarded, this one. Even when he was with Gosden before, they always thought well of him. He actually beat Group 1 winner and accidental agent back in 2019 before he switched yards. He's been very good since going to Scandinavia. He's won 4 races there, all listed or Group 3. So there's nothing wrong with him in the spot. I feel like he's a bit overpriced in the 20s. And he's got a good chance.
We'll just look at this Desert Fire form. It was, I thought, a good run. I remember watching this, actually. We had it live on Dubai Racing Channel. It was a real bunch finish. Shandoz is a horse who wins the race. But Desert Fire made up a lot of ground over the 2,400 metres. It was a listed race. And I just thought that was a perfect prep for a return here. That was on the 1st of November, as you saw. And he's probably capable of winning this.
Always very much been a consistent sort.
Pick you up on that in a minute. Let's hear from Stephen in the Parade Ring.
Joined by David O'Meara, who's obviously here with the star of the show, Lord Glitters. I see he's gone down early. Some things just never change with him.
No, he just, once the jockey gets on, he kind of gets a little bit ready, to get on with it. So
he's just amazing as ever, having won in Bahrain last time.
Yeah, he's getting on in years now. I think was he 9, so but he seems to retain all his sort of appetite for the game anyway.
What do you think it is about this place that he clearly loves?
Well, the trip suits well, the 9 furlongs suits well, and obviously a nice flat track. He just tends to run well out here, doesn't he?
And it almost doesn't seem to matter the pace they go, as long as they get racing a fair way out. Is that the way you see it with him?
He's got a good finish. I mean, you know, I think when he won here one of the times last year, I mean, he ran a good, you know, finishing quarter. So he's always tended to have that, you know, and hopefully he can retain it for another few runs anyway.
And it'll be the same sort of plan, hoping all what goes well today going forward?
Yeah, he likes, you know, he needs to settle in his races because he can be a little bit keen if he's you know, if he's too handy too early, you know. So long as he settles, he'll hopefully run his race.
You've already been amongst the winners at Southall today. Be a nice double of it.
Yeah. So no, it was good.
Good to see it. Well, all the best.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Wow, wouldn't it be great if Lord Glitters could win this? He is the poster boy for the carnival. He was on all the brochures this year, and it just got last year off to a brilliant start when he won, didn't it? It's just what we want to see, really. And as Stephen touched on this earlier, to win here, to beat Godolphin on the turf, you need to bring your best horses, and David O'Mara very much does that with Lord Glitters. Yeah, and everything, we mentioned this last year, similar telecast, where everything here suits him. It's quick ground, it's a nice long straight. He really just gets over it extremely well. He's flourishes while he trains here. And he loves to travel in general. I feel like he's going to be extremely tough to beat. We'll try to beat him with another grey in this race, but he's the horse to beat squarely. I shall not try to get him beaten. I really want him to win. Any suggestions from anyone, Stephen, that he's lost a beat over the winter? I mean, we saw him in Bahrain. He was as good as ever. Absolutely none, no. I think the figure that he ran to in Bahrain was 1 pound shy of his career best. So that's some feat. I think, as David O'Mara implied there, he is quite specific to circumstances, and he feels 1,800 metres is his perfect trip. So that's why he does so well out here in Dubai. And obviously the long straight, the fact they get racing a good way out seems to suit him. Maybe just being here on his own and training on his own. David O'Mara's a big string now back in the UK. But no, look, at the end of the day, he's a very talented horse, and one that's thankfully had a nice long career, and no sign that it's about to come to an end, I don't think. Same rider on him this year in the mornings? Yes, it is Matthew Ennis. He had a great season actually as an amateur back in England for David O'Mara, so he's back out with him. Haven't seen him on my mornings on the track yet. I've only been 2 mornings. There's Bedouin's Story going forward. I mean, how fast would they have to go to set up for Lord Glitters, or more importantly Bedouin's Story? In that he's more of a one who needs the fast pace, I'd say. Yeah, more Bedouin Story. I don't think they need to go that hard early, but they need to get racing probably about 4 furlongs out would be my guess. And I think they're going to do that with Art Duval, who likes to crack on with things. I think it is going to be suits in those held up, and given what we saw, I know they went quite hard in the Jumeirah Derby trial early, but you know, you were able to make up a good deal of ground, and we've got the rail fair way in, so it often plays to those coming back. You're with Art Duval? I did go with Art Duval. He's quite weak in the market, though. I noticed. I know we shouldn't always pay attention to that, but he's almost like the third string of the Charlie Appleby's now. Oh, it doesn't look like there's too many to go forward. You're with Highland Avenue? Highland Avenue. I think the best is yet to come with him. I'm with the Great Grey Glitters.
The El Rashidia. All in. Racing. Bedouin Story gave away a length or two, bless him likewise. Desert Fire, one of those up with the early lead. Highland Avenue got the advantage of the inside draw and goes up to pick up the early lead. Part of it taking a bit of a tug in between, gone into second, just ahead of Desert Fire in the black cap, trying to get across. Kick On hugs the rail just over a length away to Erasmo. Then comes Royal Fleet and the blue jack and the orange cap just over a length away to Art Duval. Bless him, the yellow and black colours, Urs and Jans and the maroon silks, 3/4 of the way back. 2 lengths away to Lord Glitters. He's settled well enough, and that leaves Bedouin Story racing at the end of the field, and the pace is on. Highland Avenue in front by about 3 to 4 lengths. Parson and Happy to Watch on in second. Then comes Desert Fire, who races 1 off the rail, the first horse off the rail, in third, and now about 7 lengths from the leader. Make that 8. Highland Avenue takes no prisoners. Then comes Kick On, who races away in fourth, about half a length in front of Erasmo. Then comes Royal Fleet, joined by Art Duval in the all-blue colours. Jan is next. Then comes Bless Him. They followed by Bedouin Story and Lord Glitters. They'll need to turn it on from the back of the field. And they swing for home. Little over 600 metres left to go, and Highland Avenue will bring them in, but that lead's been whittled down to about 2 lengths as Desert Fire was quick to commit, and Parson got a bit tight towards the far side. Royal Fleet. Then comes Kick On. Towards the near side is Art Duval. Lord Glitter sees daylight as late as possible, but it's Desert Fire who's got first run and now opened up by about 3 lengths. Over in second place, Art Duval. Lord Glitter's the greys nearest us. That's next best with Royal Fleet, but it's Desert Fire holding sway, still holds a 3-length lead, and Desert Fire will win. Desert Fire and a Godolphin 1, 2, 3 with Royal Fleet second, Art Duval third. Lord Glitter's best work late for fourth. Then came the Erasmo. They were ahead of Jan, and further back then to Better Win Story. They were ahead of Kick On, Bless Him. Highland Avenue set the pace and faded, and then came Parsonet.
Well, it's a 6th victory in this Al Rashidia for Saeed bin Saror, courtesy of Desert Fire. Perhaps not the first string from the yard. And I think this is probably a biggest career win to date for Hector Crouch. So a big day for him, Mikey.
Yeah, hats off. That was a proper ride. He saw that Highland Avenue was a bit of a sacrificial lamb, making the running up front. And that's unfortunate for the grey horse that I selected, but it's good for the rest of the field because Hector was able to basically watch him and time his run out perfectly without anything in his way.
Stephen, every year we seem to get a Godolphin horse who comes back through the carnival year on year as a light campaign in between, suddenly improves. Last year it was Walton Street, this year it's Desert Fire.
It would seem so, over a trip that seemed to be short of his best as well. So I guess when he kicked on here, I think we say about getting racing some way out, but we had a sort of a hare here in Highland Avenue who went off too quick, and then Desert Fire basically just dictated the rest, and he was committed plenty early enough, but he was able to steal 4 or 5 lengths and more on some of those from much further behind, and that's proven crucial. He's never looked like relinquishing that lead, and a touch of an unfathomable result in some respects, but in others, you know, as you say, he's a horse that's done well here before and had a bit of stamina for further, so once he did commit, that was always going to be handy.
So Godolphin 1, 2, 3, Desert Fire, Royal Fleet well supported, come in second, Art Duval third, Lord Glitters fourth, Bedouin Story fifth, Erasmo sixth. Lord Glitters just didn't pan out for him, I think we say, as Stephen's touched on.
His bad races usually go like that, and that's actually...
He had to switch around a lot of them as well.
I mean, that being said, he still just didn't kick on the way he usually does, and sometimes, the good thing about that is that usually he comes back in his very next race and wins, or at least goes quite close. So I feel like if they're going to have their dud of a race in the carnival, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, because now Saeed's got so many options with this horse. He could keep him fresh and go for something like the City of Gold, or just, you know, go for the Jebel Hatter over this course and distance.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of options. Singspiel, Dubai Millennium, if those races still exist, I don't presume they do. Dubai City of Gold.
The Singspiel Stakes is on February the 11th over 1,800 metres, so this race again.
Yeah.
And the Jebel Hatter, the same, but a Group 1, 350,000 on Super Saturday.
So the Singspiel's down in trip then, 200 metres. That used to be 2,000.
I think you're right, it did. Yeah. And then the Dubai Millennium Stakes is over 2,000 metres, but that's a Group 3, so we'd have a penalty, you'd have thought.
I guess he'll run wherever the options are. You know, he had plenty of runs here we had 3 runs here last year. And that freshening up, and then that good run back in at Kempton, which, as you suggested, was a good step.
It was a good run, wasn't it?
I mean, he'd never won a group race, a pattern race previously, but finishing second in a listed was as good as it had got. So maybe that was a sign he was improving, but still a bit of a weird result for me, I think.
This is what Godolphin are so good at, though. It's just giving them basically the whole year off. I mean, the horse ran a cracker on Super Saturday. He was third, only beaten 8 lengths by the aforementioned Walton Street, who did go on and win a Grade 1. So that form is strong. And then he had the whole summer to eat hay in Newmarket, and then popped up with that run that we showed you before. When picking out the videos to show, I thought, I don't know why I'm really showing this piece of form, and it turned out worked out quite well. So well done if you found this horse at around about 18 to 1. And talk a little bit about Hector Crouch, Stephen, because he's a really nice young man and a very, very good jockey.
He is, yeah. Quite tall, I think fairly heavy as time's gone on. He was obviously here as apprentice for Zabil a good few years ago now, and he had an association with a horse called Sniper de Monlau, who took him over onto the golf track at Abu Dhabi on various occasions, but he rode a few winners there for Halal. And I suppose back in England, maybe a bit harsh to describe him as journeyman, but he's I think freelance, and he's got some good stables behind him. And obviously Saeed likes to bring him out here every winter. I think Saeed quite likes his maybe his heavier work riders, hence why he's gone for like Hector Crouch, Louis Stewart, who are both tall, both do around about 56, 57 kilos. But I think this race has got a lot to do with him just being in the right place. You can see Highland Avenue has been too keen out in front, and Hector Crouch has been able to slot Desert Fire in the perfect position, really. You almost feel as though he's stacked up the rest of the field.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? As Mikey said, I think Island Avenue may have been designated pacemaker, but actually was very keen to do the job, perhaps a bit too keen.
Yeah, I think Mikkel probably did his typical, like, get him out fast, and he's like, oh, don't mind if I do. I'll pick up the bit and keep running. The problem with when they get this far away and they don't really pull, and you can immediately toss the horse that's setting the tempo. It'll be interesting to see what the team does with the winner after this, because if he's nominated for Saudi, I feel like there's no reason whatsoever they will not run him over 10.5 furlongs in the Neom Turf Cup.
Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. You're right. He is nominated. I'm pretty sure I saw him among the nominations. So he loves a trip over there, as does anybody who likes money. A little few stats for you on Hector Crouch. He actually enjoyed his best season to date in the UK in 2021 with 6 winners, one better than he managed when riding 63 winners in 2019. 16% strike rate last year. So that was pretty good. This is 10th win here in the UAE. But this would very much be his biggest career success to date. His previous biggest win was a Group 3 victory when the Serenia Stakes at Kempton back in 2019 on Streamline. And he also won the Foundation Stakes with Victory Chime. But he'll be absolutely over the moon. Unfortunately for us, he's in the next race, though, so we can't even have a chat with him. He's got a good chance. He's on storm damage for Saeed in the Al Fahidi, so
I think has a huge chance.
Double. Yeah.
I think he could pull off a Group 2 double with his first two Group 2s today in a serious way.
It's quite a likeable horse, isn't he, Desert Fire? As I mentioned, 2019 his last win here, so he's kept on coming back, and he looks relatively straightforward.
Yeah, I'm watching the replay here. I'm quite impressed with Hector and his actual balance and his flow, considering he's a leggy.
He's a very stylish jockey, given how tall he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and he really stayed balanced and kept this horse who really wanted to get out in the straight very, very as focused as he could without having to correct him and lose any momentum. He drifted out like 3 or 4 paths coming home, but still, like, proper ride, and may have even kept the ride moving on. You never know what they're going to do after this.
It'd be lovely to see him keep the ride later on, but we'll have to see. Frankie does seem to be riding as first jockey for Saeed this year, so you imagine he gets the pick.
And here's where he wins the race. It's over.
Yep. Yeah, the leader's done, isn't he? This is where Lord Glitters gets racing. Had to switch around everybody, which he didn't lose. You know, you're always going to lose momentum, obviously, when you switch direction, but it didn't look the worst disaster in the world.
Those 5 or 6 lengths he just cannot make up at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially on a horse that is not going to really... He doesn't have a huge acceleration, the winner, but he is a proper 10 to 12 furlong horse, so he's not going to slow down. He's going to grind it out. He flips his ears at the end. He's barely tired. This horse has a lot of stamina. Like I said, to me it would be a shock if they didn't go to Saudi with him at this point, because he's earned his way in with a Group 2 win just down the road.
Oh yeah, he'll go. He'll go. We should get we've got the nominations, haven't we, for Saudi, and I think they're probably waiting to see what happens in the Pegasus and races like that in the States before we get kind of firm ideas of the fields, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't discount. Yeah, and to your point, it'll be exciting to see who surely goes, and we're going to look to America this coming week, next week in the Pegasus, to see the serious players that are coming that way. And this weekend in New Orleans, there are 2 runners there who will likely plan to run in both the Saudi Cup and the Dubai World Cup in Mandaloun and Midnight Bourbon. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Back to Desert Fire, I do think that, you know, he might be overlooked if he does go to Saudi, but we said that last year when Saeed took the horse to the Red Sea Turf Handicap and won a $2.5 million race with a 40-to-1 shot.
Gulf of Gold. Yeah. He loves travelling horses. Saeed, I once had a chat with him and we were trying to count up how many countries he's had winners in. It's something like 13 or 14. It's absolutely remarkable. And the Desert Fire gives him his 420th winner here in the UAE. 3 trophies, 4 hour Al Rashidia. St Al Godolphin have won it 8 times, including 6 in a row. So it's a tough old race for the internationals to try and nick this one.
It is. And if you think about it, it does make sense because it's a Group 2. And they have so many middle distance to miler horses that are going to relish that middle ground of 9 furlongs. It's not a very popular distance in the UK, but the milers, when they come here, they can stretch out to it on the quicker ground. And the horses that are just launching their season can use it as a springboard to 10 and 12 furlong races after this. So, I mean, it's a nice niche for them. And the purse isn't that high, though, which means that horses that are less... Glitters just loves the ground here, and he did it last year. But horses from the UK and elsewhere are less obliged to come and ship in for $180,000.
Well, absolutely wouldn't be ruling out Royal Glitters on the basis of that run today. He just needs things to drop a bit more kindly for him, and he will definitely be a danger later on in the carnival, particularly if some of his main rivals head to very rich races overseas. I wonder if we'll hear from Saeed again. So I'm not sure we'll be able to hear from Hector because he is involved in the next race. I think with Storm Damage. No, I think Stephen is going to try and get a word with him. It'd be great to hear from him. A career highlight for jockey Hector Crouch.
Joined by Hector Crouch, who I think just about posted a career best effort there for you.
Yeah, career best for the horse and for me.
And it was a good ride, just nicely off the pacemaker, who you presumably felt was going a bit too quick.
Yeah, I thought we were going generous enough. I wanted to sit handy anyway, and he's a horse that wants further, so I was in two minds whether I was just outpaced. But he came on the bridle good for me round the home turn, and I kicked on and he kept galloping.
It must be a privilege riding all these horses for Saidi. You know they're going to hit the line strongly, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. It gives you plenty of confidence when you're coming down in trip that you're able to take advantage if you think you can, because you're going to finish. And I'm delighted for the horse and for Said and all the team at home.
Not inconceivable you can back another Group 2 with Storm Damage, who comes in with a more progressive profile, needs to step up but capable of doing so.
I think so. If you'd have asked me an hour ago what my best chance was, I'd have said Storm Damage. He's done nothing wrong bar the Jersey Stakes where he was too keen. Drawn lovely in 2. He's a horse that's been impressing us at home, and it's not inconceivable that he can go and win. I definitely expect him to be hit the frame anyway. Whether he needs this or not is to be seen.
And just quickly, is the breeze affecting tactics out there? Is it helping you? Is it a tailwind helping those prominently, do you think?
I didn't feel too into my face up there then, and obviously this big grandstand here kind of helps buffer it out, but it is pretty windy out there down the back, but the home straight isn't too bad.
Many congratulations, well done.
Thanks very much.
Well, big well done to Hector Crouch, been a guest on the winning line in the past, and very good he was too. Maybe we'll see if he'll appear on an episode coming up shortly. Right now though, we can give you a little bit of information about the Al Fahidi Fort, one of the oldest races to take place on the calendar here in Dubai.
Royal Trista's 2 lengths away. He's trying. Trademark got to third, but this classy pair is much too good. Hippie Tomby holding Royal Trista at bay. The post comes up and the mare wins by 2 lengths. down the outside. Bankable, the widest runner, raced up, 150 to go. Mbongi going with him. Even Batuta got through. Mbongi and Bankable. Mbongi battling back. Bankable lunged. Oh, gee.
Muktasim joined by Glorious Journey. Up on the outside, Mythical Magic, but Glorious Journey went to the front. Mythical Magic got through on the inside of Muktasim, but Glorious Journey's going to come away. Doyle and Appleby making a trifecta of wins in the Al Fahidi Fort.
Yeah, that's the Al Fahidi Fort in numbers and a race, as you can see, dominated in recent times by Godolphin. They could well do so once again. The full conditions then for tonight's second Group 2 on the card. This race due off at 8:20. We're over the 1,400 metres for this contest, and the prize fund is $180,000. And the field are headed by Ajwad, who should put pace to the race for Bernardo Pinheiro and Rashid Borsley. We've then got Alcamel, the Mount of Dane O'Neill, Could Be King. Pat Cosgrave rides that one. Garrulous for Ronald Woodworth and La Barossa, James Doyle. Land of Legends carries the first colours of Godolphin with Frankie Dettori on board. Then Mangia, Naval Crown with the white cap. Sonari, trained by Nina Lensvig. Spirit of Light sees Tiger O'Shea team up with Erwin Sharpie. Storm Damage, Hector Crouch in search of a Group 2 double. Story of Light, one of two in the race for Ahmed bin Harmash, with the first string looking to be Ventura Rebel. And finally, Zenholm completes the lineup with Antonio Fresu riding for Masaba Al Maheri.
Yeah, as we showed you in that little statistical piece, Mike de Kock holds the record in this race with 6 wins. It's got Garrulous in here. Used to be trained by Francis Graffard. It's also Group 2 place in South Africa. It's our latest faces at the races, I assume. Big well done to the winner of that one. Nice to see crowds kind of in all levels of Maidan now. We've got good representation up in hospitality and over in the public enclosure as well. The new McGettigan's bit down the end is well supported and will be on Sunday, I think, when they've got a big family day there. And it just feels like the place has come alive again this season. We were so long behind closed doors, weren't we?
We were, and we plugged along and toughed it out. But it's nice to see just more people, not only just crowding the grandstand and apron views there, but in the new hospitality options, and especially over here in the parade ring, because it's the best view in the house.
It is,
and some of the best drink specials as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great place to be. The Parade Ring Lounges, I think it's called. It changes names, I get confused. On to our Al Fahidi Fort. It's difficult to get away from Godolphin, isn't it? Yeah. I think Naval Crown is the one, but then he's conceding race fitness to stablemate La Barossa. Yeah,
I think that I went a different direction with, but I really tried not to pick Godolphin in this race, but I just thought Storm Damage was too enticing with his form cycle and just the way that he was coming in, and Hector definitely sealed that deal a few minutes ago. And there are other horses that I think should run well and better than their prices. I think even a long shot like a Spirit of Light or a Mangier can pick up a piece here, and that would be nice to see. I don't know if there's going to be a winner that's not blue, though. That's the thing.
No, I think that's stretching it. Spirit of Light is getting kind of everything he wants here. He likes it.
Very much so.
Very much a 7-furlong horse, and his owner said Hashish hello to him. I believe he's isolating, not here this evening. He's been keen to go for some of the sticking at this distance after his very, very good run in the listed National Day Cup over at Abu Dhabi, in which he was second behind Mokhtarab. They've aimed him more at these races. Ran another great race at Abu Dhabi, and he could just pick up something, but it is being a bit far-fetched to suggest he beats the Mikey Blues.
He's a Irwin special, in my opinion. Like, he's one of those where he's going to bring them along in their proper timing. He's so good with these sorts, and he's finally got him to a place where he's no longer experimenting with dirt racing, which he ran well enough on, but I think he's a classy horse. But his real running is on a flat, nice turf course like this, and going from 7 to 8 furlongs, and he's getting exactly that here. I think it'll be better going around a left-handed bend than a right-handed bend at Abu Dhabi. And to me, as long as he gets a nice trip and is tucked away and can tip out and make a run, he should be in the top 5, top 6.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best of the locals. You could possibly make a case for Alcamel as well. Last time he did win over course and distance. A big old step up, isn't it? But he won from 11 last time.
He really needs pace in front of him. Like, I mean, it's 7 furlongs. There's going to be a bit of pace in here. If there isn't, they all should just quit and go home. But he is best with tempo, which is why I think the 7 furlongs is best for him, because he can't quite go 6 in a straight. He needs the bend there. He does his best running around it. He needs to kind of tip out and pass horses and get confident as he goes along, and that's what he did last year when he won enlisted company before going on to the Jebel Hatta. Now, will he do that against these sorts? I think he'll make up a bunch of ground. I think he'll finish in the first half of the field, but I just don't know if he's good enough to be in the top 4.
Ahmed Ben Hamash got a couple of interesting runners. Story of Light, who looked quite exciting at the start of the season, is a very consistent horse. And also Ventura Rebel, who kind of made the headlines a little bit because he was a very good 2-year-old and then purchased to go to Royal Ascot by his owner, Abdullah Menahi. And it nearly came off. He was second in the Group 2 Norfolk back in 2019 and got back to winning ways this year with a Group 3 win at the Curragh for Richard Fahey. This is Ajwad. He's just a lovely horse, but he's had his issues over the years. Been a bit stop-start since his big win here in April 2019.
Yeah, I mean, he's not quite been the same as he was back then. He's older now. He likes to be on the front end, which to me is not something you see a lot. You don't see a lot of horses that love to be on the front end really carry on to their 7, 8, 9 years the same way they do when they're early. It's a bit harder on them, that style of running. To me, he's obviously an automatic toss with no chance, but we wish them the best.
He absolutely is. It's his first run since April as well. Even his best form, he won the Zabeel Turf when it was run back in April. Even his best form would see him struggle here. He has been a phenomenal servant for Rashid Borsley, winning 5 of his 35 starts, done all of his racing here in the Emirates. And he will go forward. Bernardo and him get on very well in that regard. He loves to go forward, and so does the horse. This is Alcamed. He's just a smashing little chap. Used to be trained by William Haggis. This is actually his first run in a Group 2, and with the best will in the world, he is not Group 2 class.
Yeah, none whatsoever. It's a highly questionable move to put him in this spot, but then he might be in the best form of his life. We don't know how he's acting back at the barn and the things that he's telling them. To me, it looks way too ambitious. Drawn 3, that helps a little bit. He's going to be forward, but I don't think he's going to be a factor at all, and I think he's up against it in all the wrong ways.
Jockey's coming out. It's a nice spare ride booking by... Who's Mikel Barcelona's agent? Anyway, to get him on Story of Light. Or nice booking by Ahmed Ben Hamash to get Mikel Barcelona, is I think what I mean. To ride the second string with Ray Dawson presumably opting to partner Ventura Rebel. There's Frankie having a word with Antonio, who was very honest about the chances of Zayn Hom when he was our guest on the winning line last night. That's Antonio, not Zayn Hom. Zayn Hom wouldn't fit in the studio. This horse just does what he wants. He's actually capable of running a big race. He just does what he wants. Antonio said some days he just runs an amazing race, like when he won a listed race here last year, and other days he doesn't. This is Carreras, who's got an interesting career profile, hasn't he? He's still only had the 6 starts, but in so far in 2 different countries. This is third.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a surprise at all to see him run fairly well here. The yard has had one really good run and one really terrible run so far, I think, in the 2 runs this carnival. We'll see which one this falls under. Form-wise, you see him go back to his better form in South Africa. I'm not sure that he can get back to that here against these sorts. He is up against it in class, but he is rated 103. We'll see whether or not he lives up to it.
Labarossa, I think, has a huge chance. He was beaten. He's perhaps a shade disappointing behind Path of Thunder in the Zabeel Trophy. I'm not a fan of these race names. They're all similar. Anyway, the Zabeel Trophy that we had a couple of weeks ago. It was a non-carnival race, a very, very strong one.
Yeah.
And the crucial thing was that after the race, Charlie Appleby said to Stephen he'd missed a gallop due to their track being washed away by the rain, or part of it being washed away by the rain. So, therefore, he's got a massive fitness edge on some of these, including Land of Legends, who aims to be the 3rd repeat winner of this race. And he's 4 from 4 over this trip.
Yeah, this is his trip. It does make him very difficult to beat. Frankie does choose him, which is huge. I thought, because he does have a couple, he has a good option in Storm Damage as well. I don't like him today. I don't know why. There's something that's just not really setting well with me. I was like, Frankie worries me because he's rode such a great race earlier. And he always rides a good race, but I feel like this race doesn't set up for him the same way it did last year.
He's very similar preparation. Last year he ran on Super Saturday, came back and won this. This time he's run on World Cup night, finished 5th behind Lord North, coming back and running in this. There's very little to knock him with, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was Mangier we saw just quickly then. You quite like the look of him in the mornings. First runner here for Karina Fay as well.
He's very relaxed within himself. Seems to have a bit of class to him. I thought he would be just one that his class lines are pretty solid. He's faced some really decent horses and run fairly well. I mean, you'll see the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in there, but he's only losing by a few lengths to some really proper horses. And he loves this trip, and he should like this ground.
Nina Lensvik got a great run out of Suspicious Mind last week. She's a good trainer. That was her first runner here. And Sanori comes in with some consistent form. Wasn't beaten far last time out. So finished second in a handicap over 1,400 metres in Denmark. Time before that, ran in Norway, I think. So useful horse. Won 6 of his 21 starts and 1 of the 5 over this distance. This is my idea of the winner here. He's 1 from 1 on the turf here at Meydan. He beat Master of the Seas on that occasion. He ran a good race here on the dirt. Went back to Europe, ran some really good races. 4th in a Guineas. Surely he's got the best form.
Yeah, to me, he's squarely the horse to beat on form, and especially the horses he's running against and running well against. Last time he won was here. He looks phenomenal as he walks past us now. He might need the run because they might have bigger goals for him. I feel like their goal is, since he's intact, is probably to win a Group 1 with him. We'll see. The 7 furlong series here does suit him extremely well, and I feel like that's why he's here.
This is your Storm Damage, who was, I think, among the anti-post favourites for the Cambridgeshire and didn't get into the race. So they decided not to worry, we'll bring him here and aim him at the Albieri Ford. So before we get Mikey's views on that, let's hear from the parade ring.
Yeah, I'm joined by Edgar Byrne, a hardy Irishman who's just complained about the cold, but he's also responsible for the purchase of Could Be King, and great to see him back here, I suppose, now, isn't it?
Back here it is indeed, yeah. No, it's quite chilly tonight, Stephen, yeah. I thought we'd mention that. Yeah, Could Be King. We were looking for a sprinter, actually, 2 years ago, and at that time, Kick On, we had him on our books and liked him a lot, and Neil saw him and liked him, so we put the sprinter thing aside for 12 months, and Kick On went on and was champion in Scandinavia, and his target is actually on to Saudi in a month's time. So then we came back to the sprinter where we had started our plans. We saw Could Be King running here last year, and we thought, well, that's where we want to be. The owners have always wanted to come out to Dubai and race. It's been a big ambition of theirs. We said, that's the horse, that's the sprinter, and that's the whole criteria. So we got in touch and made it all happen, as they say, and we're back here tonight as planned. In fact, in the same race as he started last season. So yeah, he's
done pretty well back in Scandinavia since you bought him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been great. He's had 6 runs. He had just one blip in the whole year. He went to Hamburg and got dehydrated in the race there. But apart from that, he had 2 wins, 3 seconds. He's been a fantastic horse. We got him. And I think he's freshened up a lot by going to Scandinavia. I wouldn't say to anybody you improve horses moving trainer to trainer, but definitely dropping just a little bit of level. It's allowed him just to get that confidence back and fill the lungs up and feel good about himself. And I think we have a nice horse here tonight, so we're looking forward to a good run. It's a good race, but we think we'll be on the premises.
We've had you on the channel before, of course, and your main business buying a lot of horses to go to Scandinavia.
Yeah, look, we buy all over the world. We buy Hong Kong, we buy Japan, Scandinavia, Spain, you name it. We've got a horse for you. Yeah, we'll line one up. But yeah, Scandinavia's been great. Niels Peterson has been fantastic over the last couple of years. We supply a lot of horses out there, so it's been lucky, and we could get one here in Dubai. It'll be icing on the cake, Stephen.
Wish you all the best. Thanks for your time, Edgar.
Thanks, Stephen. Talk soon. Cheers.
Thanks to Edgar Byrne, a very enthusiastic chap, and he was so enthusiastic he turned up to track work this morning in his shorts and looked pretty chilly for most of the morning. Come over from England, and he thought, really nice and warm in Dubai. It's always beautiful weather there. Not in January. Let's show you a couple of bits of form, starting with Land of Legends run in the Dubai turf, which, being brutally honest, wasn't the best Dubai turf we've ever had. But it was still a Group 1. It still is a good Group 1. And won by Lord North, who is a good horse.
He's a Group 1 horse.
So, and we'll see him soon, actually, won't we, Lord North? He's on the way back, I believe. Anyway, this was the run of Land of Legends, and this is as good as he is, isn't it? He was never going to be good enough to win this. 5th, I thought, was a super effort.
Yeah, I mean, the only time he was ever going to be able to get the 9 furlongs.
This is actually the Labarossa form, sorry.
Oh, this is Labarossa. Here we go. Well, this Labarossa one did not have the best kind of, despite even missing the, he had another excuse other than missing the work. the race really didn't quite go as planned.
No,
He
it
broke
didn't.
out on top, like just pinged the gates, broke extremely well, and then Tig on the outside rushed the Zabeel horse to get to the front, Nordic Light, and it kind of like threw the race a little off balance for him. And I feel like he never quite had things go his way. He still made his run, and he still does have a lot of class. My worry with him is deeply whether or not he still wants to win a race.
Yeah, I mean, he only won 2 of them. His run behind Marshall Season in the Craven was very, very good. And then they sent him over to the Irish Guineas. Finished 6th behind Max Sweeney. Then he ran St James's Palace, was quite well beaten then, and then the run here. So his form kind of tailed off, albeit he was keeping very good company. He's drawn in 12 today, which is not ideal. But I just like the fact he's got the fitness edge. We've seen it so many times before when Naval Crown won here last year, beating Master of the Seas. Naval Crown had the run, Master of the Seas hadn't. So there's a lot to be said for that. So let's show you, if we can, Land of Legends, that run behind Lord North. You know, there were some very good horses in here, for all that I said it lacked the depth of previous Dubai Turfs, I'd say.
Including Zane Holm was in there in the white blinkers. It's, he was never going to, probably be top 3 in this race, especially over 9 furlongs. The only time he was going to get that trip was around 1 turn, which makes it slightly easier. But I do think that going back to 7 furlongs here is his trip, and he's proven that. If you look past Naval Crown, he's a square second choice on the market. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he can top him.
Yeah. Stephen's back from the parade ring. Anything particularly impress you in there?
Naval Crown looks a beast. Real powerful, typical Dubawi. Actually looks like Dubawi. Looks like he should be a stallion already. It's quite a thick-set horse. I'd imagine he'll take plenty of work to get fit. On the other hand, Land of Legends would be a leaner model and presumably a lot easier to get right first time. So I don't know whether that manifests itself in one of them just needing the run over the other. I don't know. But Naval Crown he's incredibly short in the market. When I tipped him up on the winning line yesterday, thought, well, you might get something around 2 to 1 in what could be a competitive race. But then I suppose you go through it, and Labarossa beaten in handicap company last time. Storm Damage has to progress. Maybe it doesn't have as much depth as the Al Rashadir did in our previous race. Another horse that impressed me as well in looks was Spirit of Light. I thought he's a stronger horse than he was last year. He's obviously got to move forward from Abu Dhabi, but he's already progressed 17 pounds so far this season, and he might not need to progress too much more to finish in the first 3 here.
No, I'd say he's got the course and distance form. He's only won a couple of times, say here and at Abu Dhabi back in November.
He's always been such a looker, though, like such a good-looking animal.
He's a son of Dark Angel out of an invincible spirit mare, Spirit of Light. Hence, he does handle the dirt, sort of, as Mikey said. Much happier on the turf. Did you have a good look at Sanary for Nina Lensvik? You had a chat with her last week.
Yeah, she was umming and ahhing whether to run in the race. She was always going to enter and see what the opposition was like.
And she just thought, they're not up to much.
Well, she might have looked outside of Naval Crown and felt similarly that the depth wasn't perhaps there to the race. I don't know, but look, he looks vulnerable for sure. Bearing in mind what we've seen from the Scandinavian horses and etc. Although I'd say a few of them have run well. And
her horse last week, I thought, ran
really
a
well.
belter.
Suspicious Mind ran really well despite not having the run of things. So, yeah, that could he could run well. He's drawn badly in 14, but that might not be too much of an issue. We're expecting Ajwad to go forward. Naval Crown probably to sit handy. Hector Crouch was very complimentary about Storm Damage. He said he was his best chance of the night, so we'll see what happens with him.
I think he's Mikey's pick. I'll stick with the favourite nearly all ready for our Al Fahidi Fort.
Thanks very much, Tom. Sonari Winton and Story of Light will be the last one for the Al Fahidi Fort. Sure, a rebel, but unsettled. Ready. And they're off. And off to a good start. Ajwad, one of the first to break, ridden out vigorously to get off to the lead. Mangier races in second. Then comes Carreras, who slots it onto the rail, just scrimmaging there with Naval Crown, who tried to barge its way into position. Then comes Sonari in the green and white colours with a clear, with a free passage over towards the outside. Then comes Story of Light in the maroon and white colours. Could Be King is in the purple silks in midfield. They seem to be going a good pace here. Then just over a length away, we find Zainhom and Storm Damage. They racing together. Now Land of Legends in the all blue colours, just behind midfield. La Barossa went around that. Then comes Spirit of Light. They followed by El Carmel and Ventura Rebel. Been asked a lot of questions at the end of the field, and they're about to swing for home. And Ajwad has ensured a good gallop in front by a little over one length. Mangier is second. Then comes Sonari, Carreras, blue sleeves and cap at their outside. Naval Crown barging his way into the clear. Then comes Story of Light. Could Be King was next best, and Storm Damage makes a run towards the inside rail. Land of Legends still 5 lengths adrift, but it's Naval Crown's turn to hit the front. Sonari is second. Story of Light runs a big race in the maroon silks. Could Be King was next best. It's Naval Crown in the lead. Challengers trying to come, but they're trying to come too late here, and Naval Crown won. Second is very close. Story of Light probably. Zainhom best work late. Mangier. Then came Storm Damage, who was luckless towards the inside. Spirit of Light was after those. They were ahead of Land of Legends. Carreras next best, and then came El Carmel, Ajwad and Ventura Rebel. La Barossa.
Plenty to dissect there, but the favourite has come out on top, and I think probably quite comfortably so. He was in the perfect spot, I think, right the way through the race under William Buick, who delivers him for a pretty clean-cut victory. They were coming at the end, but they weren't going to get there, and I think it was cozy enough success.
Yeah, it was quite classy. Too much for them. And he touted himself in the parade ring beforehand, and we should have trusted him then instead of trying to beat him. But big runs from both Spirit of Light and Zainhom.
Yes, Zainhom, told you, capable if wants to. Today he really wanted to. Massive run from Sanary, who's just been absolutely swamped in about the last stride. I think he went from second to about sixth as they crossed the line, which is unfortunate, but a big run from him. But Stephen, this is a very, very good horse. This is I think a Group 1 horse.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't a very good Group 2, but I still think he's a Group 1 horse.
I think he had a bid in hand as well, didn't he? I know they've finished in a bit of a heap in behind, and you've got horses like Story of Light and Zainhom, but I think Naval Crown had this race won a good way out, the way he quickened to the front, and I wouldn't be surprised if we spoke to either William Buick or Charlie Appleby and they said afterwards that he was going to need the run as well. Just looking at the size of him, and he's not in terms of tall, but round rotundness, I guess is the best way of describing him. And yeah, he quickened to the front and probably felt he'd done enough, and yeah, they've flashed home at the end. Story of Light has run a much better race back on the turf. Looks a typical example of having done well at Jebel Ali, hated the Meydan dirt and bounces back on turf. And there's probably 2 or 3 others in the mix there that you could say have run with credit. Storm Damage in the black cap nips up the rail. Disappointment was La Barossa. Don't know where they go with him. He almost pulled up as if something was wrong with him.
There's a sale in April.
Well, he'd be a good one to get if somebody can get him back, but maybe he'd be a bit too valuable to send to a sale, I'd say.
I know, we get some beautiful pedigree shorts for our Racing in Dubai sales. We really do. We can't keep them all, but this is a horse, I think, going places. It'll be fascinating to see what route Charlie tracks with him now, whether they continue on with the carnival, whether they look at options overseas, or whether they just go, that'll do for now, and take him back to Europe for something. He was very good at Royal Ascot last year, second behind Creative Force in the Jersey. Creative Force is on his way over, or will be at some point, for the Alquoz Sprint. So, Story of Light, though, has kind of broken up the blue and the Shadwell blue there in second, and he kind of went into all our notebooks, didn't he, with a very good run, a couple of very good runs at the start of the season. He's very, very consistent. Maybe they found his ideal circumstances.
Story of Light?
Yeah.
He just got lost on the dirt here at Meydan.
Yeah.
And you say the Jebel Ali dirt's different. Gives a bit of a belated form boost, I suppose, to Al Tariq. We thought that race was drifting away, and he was beaten by 2 very good horses last time in Cafu and Prince Ig anyway. But I do think he's going to prove best on the turf or Jebel Ali dirt. I think I just heard a course record, 1:22.02, which knocks off 0.3 of a second off Dubai's course record.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in this race last year.
And stakes record and course record.
Yeah, previous record, 2018, sorry. So,
It's a
popular
shame.
winner. This one was in everyone's pick six, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a shame for Antonio. He talked about how Zane wants to, he decides to run when he decides to run. And today was his day, and that he just felt like running. But he had a bit of a a bit of a bump and some traffic at the top of the lane that definitely cost him second today.
Is there a 1,400-meter listed handicap at some point? That'll be lovely for Zainhom.
These 7 furlong races that are coming forward are perfect for him.
Yeah.
Like we said before, he really needs that pace ahead of him so he doesn't use himself too much. And to swoop around like he did, it just a little bit of traffic. I'm sure Antonio will have a lot to say about it later.
Zainhom's race is the Business Bay Challenge. Again, we've gone to the map for our race naming inspiration. On Friday, February the 11th, a listed race over 1,400 metres. So there we go.
Bay's challenge.
There'll be the Jebel Ali Mile before then, and there'll be a domestic race before then.
You may as well keep them going. They're not pets. Let's have another look at this race then. A bit of a raggedy break. The winner in the white cap of Godolphin broke from stall 4, Naval Crown. Mangier was pretty quickly up in the box seat behind Ajwad. No surprise he was in the lead. No surprise he faded.
Yeah. He was just it was typical. Antonio's passing us right now. He seems very pleased with the run of the third place here, Zainhom. But yeah, Ajwad, he ran his race, which is about 1,200 meters, and that was all for him. He's been a great servant. It's nice to see him stretch his legs and enjoy his life. The rest, I mean, the winner here just looks... the winner's so full of run at this point.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
He's just... I mean, he's shown before that he can actually go to the front, so he has the speed if he wanted to take them on. But he's showing gears now, and that's probably why he's still intact, why they're trying to make him a Group 1 winner, and why he'll probably... even though it's not a Group 1, he's one that you'll probably go possibly in Saudi or go up to the Zabeel Mile, one of the two. Like, there are two options for him at this point. There's a 6 3/4 race in Saudi going for $1 million, the 1351 turf sprint, or they have the Zabeel Mile here, or even moving up in trip. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I wouldn't have thought moving up in trip would be too much of a problem for him. He just seems a very tractable horse.
Yeah.
I imagine that's another reason why he's not being gelded. If he's nice to be around, doesn't cause anyone any problems in the mornings, then you're more likely to keep them intact, aren't you? There was a brief second, about a nanosecond, I thought Carreras was going to win. I got very, not Carreras, Sannery was going to win in the grey there. I got very excited. And bless him, he hasn't even finished in the top 6. I don't know how. It was a mighty performance.
Gets passed by the winner
but
here.
The winner does come past very easily.
He's really showing more of a dynamic way of running since, coming here. I think that these races over a straight didn't really suit him as well as going around a bend. Even though he did run extremely well over Alaskat, and he ran extremely well obviously the Guineas. But around the bend, around 7 furlongs, it really suits him. So like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the 6 3/4 like they did with Space Blues last year at Saudi, because he seems to be extremely well suited to this style of racing.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, he's a very different profile to Space Blues, hasn't he? Like Space Blues going into Saudi last year, I thought was a certainty. He already had the Group 1 win. This horse ran in the Prix Jean Prat, got beaten.
He has that pace. He doesn't have the acceleration and absolute blinding turn of foot that Space Blues has. That version of Dubawi. He's a bigger version of a Dubawi, and he is an absolutely. He's got different gears through it. He's got 3 or 4 gears that he can switch into, which is nice to see because he's growing into them. He's getting stronger. He's getting older, and I think he's pretty exciting from a horse that we thought was just a counterpart to Master of the Seas last year. Now he's had a chance to get his day in the sun.
His run on the dirt actually wasn't that bad, was it?
No.
It was okay, but they switched him back on the turf, and the rest is history. He's very well bred horse, as you expect. It's actually the first foal of Dan Zilli, mare called Come Alive, who won a couple of times over this trip, actually 7 furlongs and a mile as well at Maison Lafitte in France. She's trained by Andre Fabre, and Michael Barcelona actually rode her. I doubt he would remember. But he definitely got on the right one, didn't he, for Ahmed Bin Hamash. Ventura Rebel ran no sort of race, hated every single minute of it. I do seem to remember, actually, Ventura Rebel has been a bit quirky in the past.
Yeah,
so
and they were working on him, I think, even before the bend. I think he might have even taken out the stick. So for a good 5.5 furlongs away from the finish, he was asking him to straighten up, which to me is a sign that the horse is probably just being a pain in deciding not to run or wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. But good thing is that now he's in a yard now that he's probably going to have 3 or 4 seasons to annoy them and show flashes of brilliance in between.
Yeah, he's a very talented horse, and so he won that Group 3 over in Ireland earlier this year, Ventura Rebel, but not today for him. Yeah, that's a decent performance for our locals. They'll be happy to have divided up the Godolphin horses there. Storm Damage ran a good enough race.
Yeah.
Step up in grade.
It wasn't good enough for me. I think it was okay. It was just I expected him to show a little more flash, and he just couldn't. He couldn't keep tempo with the better horses, with the better horse rather, and it just didn't really suit him. Maybe it was. I don't think it was the 7 furlongs. I think maybe he is better at a mile, but we'll see if they come back to the Zabeel Mile, which I think is a shorter gap this year. If I need to look at the schedule.
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a questionable gap between races, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wheels back into it. I mean, that race, I don't know what's going to go in there now because of how big these fields were today. And a lot of times you'll have runoff from the Singspiel and the previously known as Singspiel, and that actually go on to this race, and this in accordance with this one actually moving forward in the schedule. It's not going to help it.
No, it's a bit bizarre. I guess Charlie will have Path of Thunder, who won the Zabeel Trophy Turf.
Yeah. Does he have Zakuski still?
Last week.
I'm guessing Zakuski is still.
That's true.
That's
he's
probably
around,
where he's going to go.
Yeah, I think he's around anyway. But yeah, I wonder if Path of Thunder's the one that they aim at the Zabeel Mile next week, 28th, and keep this or something else. But anyway, I'm sure Stephen will get a word with Charlie, and we don't need to speculate anymore. Charlie picking up his own trophy. Well done to him. Win number 118 here in the UAE from 506 odd runners. Pretty good indeed. And that takes William Buick to 136 winners, I think. Big well done to him. He was so determined, wasn't he, to win that UK champion jockey title this year, and he really gave it his best.
So close.
Yeah, he might do it this year though.
We might have
deserving winner.
Might have a replay of that this year with Antonio going after Ty Gaucher. He's going to chase him and chase him and chase him.
Yeah, no, the UAE
and not
Jockeys Championship is looking really interesting at the moment. As is the Trainers Championship, as we touched on earlier with Bupat Seema. We'll get a word with somebody, probably Charlie.
I'll talk if they want me to. I'll tell you how it went.
I think, no offence, but it'd be good to hear from Charlie. We've just spent 5 minutes speculating on where the horse is going to go. Charlie will just tell Stephen, hopefully. Here he is now.
Joined by Charlie Appleby after the victory of Naval Crown. Obviously a horse you thought quite a bit of to campaign him as you did last year, but looking at the size of him, is this year going to be his year?
Yeah, like as you said, Stephen, he's a typical Dubai. He's got stronger through the winter so far to date, and we're confident coming in here tonight that he's a class horse. He's been training well, and I feel this is probably his best trip. He travels well. Great thing for William is he can ride him positively as well, because he gets the mile as well. But I think 7's definitely going to be his targets for the summer.
So could he follow in the sort of the Space Blues path in terms of his targets, Saudi maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he'd just have that boot just yet to come back. Maybe next year, all being well. But I spoke to William about that, and he just said 6.5. It's a sharp, as we know, it's a sharp 6.5 round there. It might just take him slightly out of his comfort zone. So I think we'll just stick to plan A, and that is to hopefully go to Super Saturday for the new conditions race they put on there, and then obviously that will just hopefully springboard him onto Europe.
Looking at the size of him, he'd have probably needed to run a little bit there as well. Would you have said?
I'd say probably be a couple of kilos lighter in the morning, but that's no harm. Like I say, he's got a long summer ahead of him.
Nice performance from Silent Speech early on.
Yeah, again, please, quick little family. I know he's an older man now, but we saw his full brother win round here, just broke his maiden a couple of weeks ago there with Bupert. So he came into the race in good shape, and he could be a fun little horse for the summer. He just needs to get a bit stronger, which hopefully, again, being by Dubai, he's got a chance of doing that.
What were your thoughts on Albar, just quickly? Not necessarily liking the dirt, 3 kilo penalty as well, combination of everything.
Yeah, the dirt, it's always find it a bit hard switching onto the dirt. You know, my stats on the dirt aren't great, but probably just a bit of a head scratcher. Look, William just said it. He broke well enough, and to be fair, at least thanks to Shane Ryan and his team, they've done a great job. You know, he stood in there well, and so that's a starting point. It's a good thing to take forward anyway. But whether we have another crack at him in the Guineas and just see whether he can adapt to it, something we'll ponder over the next week or so.
We've got Rebels Romance in the last as well. Looking forward to get him back on track.
Yeah, very much so. Look, he'll be a bit ring rusty. He's a funny old character. He's not the biggest workhorse in the morning, so it's always hard to assess where you are with him. But I felt that tonight would be a nice starting point for him. You know, we could have gone round 2, but you know, got some spicy horses coming over for that, and they could just. He's got to learn to brake a bit quicker and get up on the revs there. But so hopefully tonight will just be another learning curve for him going forward, and hopefully we're working back from a World Cup night.
Well, best of luck with him. Well done so far. Cheers, Charlie.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stephen.
There's never an interview with Charlie Appleby that isn't absolutely fascinating. They're going to persevere with Albahar on the dirt, which is
he's got a lot to talk about too.
Yeah, well, he does have lots of. You could literally chat to him for about an hour and not cover all his good horses. It's the same problem when you have a history chat with Saeed bin Saroy. You want to talk to him about all the good horses he's trained. It's great fun. But yeah, interesting there regarding the winner. It sounds like targets back in Europe at some stage.
I mean, this was his UAE sort of bow for the season, and wrapping him up. He knows what he has now. And I think he's always known, but he's looking at that race. He's a proper Group 1 horse. He's just waiting for those races. And I mean, where do you go from here with him? I mean, pointing toward Oral Ascot, I would imagine.
Group 2 penalties would be a bit of a nuisance potentially.
I don't know if he's a horse that maybe you hope that he can handle the undulation and go to the Queen Anne, or there are options. But the question with him would be whether or not he's a 7 furlong horse, which is the niche market, or if he's a proper mile horse.
Well, we're on to our dirt next for our Dubawi Stakes, but as we'll find out in a minute or two, it really should be called the Ronaldo the Wizard Stakes.
Ronaldo the Wizard's in front, and he is not for passing. He's 4 lengths clear as they race inside the final 50 metres, and Ronaldo the Wizard will do it again. Ronaldo the Wizard first. He's cast his spell again, Ronaldo the Wizard. Beaumont Mass finishes strongly. Too late. Win for the locals.
Ronaldo, well, he's been with us now 3 years. Well, 3 years next month. He's part of the family now. He's with us in and out of all the bad weathers. It was the very first time this year, this winter, they actually started to grow a winter coat. He's obviously acclimatised now to us and everyone what's around working here. He comes out every morning out of his stables, comes into his paddock. This is his paddock. And we always put him out with a friend because he doesn't definitely like being by himself. He needs some company with him. And in the evenings, he comes back into his stables. He likes being in his stable. I think he's probably a creature of habit where he spends so much time in his stables, but he has settled in very, very well. He's in great health, and I mean, everyone generally thoroughly spoils him. You've got to go careful with him. Yeah, you won't want to trust him because he will have a little nibble at you sometimes. He likes his treats, and I think sometimes it's too many treats and too many nibbles maybe, but he's expecting something now, but I haven't got anything on it for me. So, but Marie Sullivan, it's her pet really. She comes out apples. She does. She comes out, gives him apples and got the treats, and and his box is right next to Marie's window in the office. So, but no, he's settled in brilliant. It's been long enough for him to settle in, and he's really done well.
So no Ronaldo the Wizard for Bupat Seymour to rely on this year's renewal of the Dubai Stakes, but two good runners nonetheless will bring you the full conditions for this race, and over 1,200 metres on the dirt. Group 3 contest sponsored by Azizi, $150,000 the prize fund here. And they're headed by Al Tariq, the mount of Pat Dobbs for Doug Watson. Bochart will break from stall 8. Richie Mullen rides for Bupat Seymour. Canvassed is the favourite. Andrea Azzini rides that one. Then Freedom Fighter, Tygo Shea. Ibn Malik, the mount of Dane O'Neill. Maystar comes over from Bahrain with Ray Dawson. Miraz doesn't go. On the Warpath does. Antonio Fresu rides. Visors on for the first time for that one.
Just a bit more reflection on the win of Naval Crown. Stephen since informed us that we need to work on our hearing and that he's going for the Ras Al Khor on Super Saturday, the new 1,400 metre race, in which he won't have a penalty, because one of the quirks or good things about Super Saturday is that there are no penalties because we want the best horses running.
Yes, and we don't want to...
So basically it's a penalty kick.
Yes, it is. So what was once a really interesting new race now is going to be 4 horses, including Naval Crown, and they're all going to be Godolphin.
And I think it'd be a lovely target for Rodania. I've changed my mind. Right, here's Bochart. Well, we talked about legend in Ronaldo the Wizard. Bochart at a slightly lower level is also an absolute legend, isn't he? He's had 44 career starts, won 8 of them, all of those victories here in the UAE, 6 of them here at Meydan, including twice over course and distance. But he's just not that zippy from the gates anymore, is he?
No, he doesn't have that same kind of punch that he used to. But luckily, if things don't go well today, I think they have a 7 furlong race in mind for him next week.
This is a proper horse, Al Tariq. He's dwarfed actually by Bochart. He's quite slight. He really came into his own last year. He won the Jebel Ali Sprint, then he came here and won the Al Shindaga Sprint, and a very good 6th in the Golden Sheen, and returned with a gritty victory over Story of Light. That form now looks very good.
Yeah, like a lot of Oasis Dreams, he has such a quick action to him, and he's not too big. He's very athletic. He's going to love every bit of this. If he breaks well, he has the pole position on the rail. I feel like he's the horse to beat from there, and he might just, the way the race is shaping up, he might just have a better chance of it than Canvas does.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? It's a bit like in the last race with the Charlie Appleby runners. How important is race fitness? Because Canvas doesn't have that. It's 300 days since we last saw him. However, if you look back through his career, he won first up in 2018 and 2019, and I'm inclined to think if Doug thought he needed a prep, he'd have given him a prep.
Yeah, I mean, well, they know since World Cup Day last year, he's had one goal moving forward. And he's good enough to finish 3rd last year on World Cup Day, and they know they have a Group 1 dirt sprinter on their hands. So their goal is going to be there. It's not going to be today. I feel like he's going to be extremely tough to beat today, but if he doesn't win and finishes a very good 2nd, that would not be a shock at all. He won the Mahab al-Shamal extremely impressively. I feel like they're looking for a similar setup today. I'm just not sure that the pace is going to be as lights out as they expect.
Bupat Seymour and family. Freedom Fighter is one of his representatives here. You know way more than me about the strength of this form. Concert Tour beaten earlier this week. He was 2nd here in the San Vincenti.
That's when Concert Tour was still with Bob Baffert. Wayburn's obviously a very, very good horse. He was 4th to him at Aqueduct, going a mile around one turn. This is a horse that they've always had kind of high hopes for. He never quite panned out. He picks up a lot more weight than he's ever carried in a race this time, going up 59 kgs from 54.5 is the highest he's ever carried. He's unexposed. We'll just say that, but he should start extremely quickly. Baffert horses are good out of the gate. They're trained to be, unless he's so rusty that he desperately needs the run and doesn't come out fighting. I don't think they'd start him here. I thought they would probably start him in the 7 furlong race next week.
I do think they think he needs a little bit further than this to be seen to best effect. Ibn Malik is, of course, in distance winner. That came in the Garhoud Sprint of 2019. He's not the easiest to get to the track, literally. Like, sometimes I think he comes out of his stable and goes, no, I don't fancy it. So they have to be quite inventive with him in the mornings. He's also obviously had injury issues. He's returning for his 2nd run after a big old break. It was a very good run, though, 3rd behind Dahawi. On the turf, this is Maystar. Dirt for the first time on breeding. I wouldn't be that convinced he's going to enjoy it.
No, but I mean, you can show a little bit of pace here and mix it up. But if they're trying something new, or maybe to mix it up in his head and shock him into proper form, I mean, he's up against it in so many ways. Best thing he has going for him, there's only 6 other rivals.
Absolutely. Pick up a nice check. This is on the warpath, who could potentially pick up something here. His first run behind Mabaka was very, very good indeed. He's got the visor on. He had a little gallop around here with the visor yesterday morning.
Last run was a tactical mess. He had a lower draw in 2 last time, and he was forced to show a little bit of speed.
Hold that thought. We'll hear from Stephen.
I'm joined by Mohammed Saeed, the trainer of Maystar. Great to see you here. Your first runner in Dubai?
First one in Dubai, yes.
And what made you bring Maystar over?
Well, we submit for 3 horses to run in the carnival, and luckily 3 of them that has been accepted to run in the carnival. So why not?
Indeed, and he's been in good form in Bahrain since coming to you?
Yes, he just come back to his old form this season because we bought him last season and takes him 1 season to acclimatize in Bahrain. But he's been in good form this season.
And I noticed he's by Mason, and his progeny seem to handle the dirt quite well. Are you confident he'll handle it here?
Well, I hope he didn't prove me wrong, because since I ride him in the morning myself, and he's enjoyed the surface, and he seems to sharpen up a bit here. So we hope he shows something now.
And has it been easy for the horses to come here? Are they staying here in Dubai now?
Yes, they are staying here in Dubai for the carnival only, yes.
And you have Carreras as well in the last race. What can we expect from him?
Well, he didn't like it same as Maystar, but we want to try him on this dirt.
Yeah. And if they don't run well, you can always run on turf next time. Is that the plan?
Exactly. That's what everybody do.
Well, great to see you here, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that.
Yeah, really good to hear from Mohammed Saeed there. His first runners here in Dubai this evening. They came over from Bahrain a couple of weeks ago, I think. And yeah, of course, the colours we know very well. Alafu Racing Say was successful here with 9 Below Zero, who rocketed away with a win a couple of years ago for Fauzi Nas. Mohammed does really well with his runners at home in Bahrain. So good luck to them. Let's hope they get a nice run out of Maystar. I'm sure they'd like a victory even better. Talked about all of these. You were talking about on the warpath and how last time you felt tactically it wasn't right
tactically
for him.
it was a big old miss. He was drawn to, he was kind of forced, Hand was forced to at least try to make the running a bit, and he was jolted out of his rhythm. He went too fast, and then once he had a chance to back off and drop back a few lengths and catch his breath, he made another run. He made another effort and switched leads to the outside. To me, that means he just that in this race doesn't shape up nearly as quick early as that one did. I think that sets him up to stalk properly today. Maybe drop in the pocket right behind Al Tariq and whoever, possibly Freedom Fighter, whoever goes with him in the front, and really make a proper run out of it. He could get first run on canvas. I don't think he's as good as canvas, but that doesn't mean you can't beat him on the day.
Exactly, because Canvas hasn't run for 300 days, and 300 days ago this was that run. It was a fine third behind Zenden in the Golden Shaheen. Stephen's back with us. They went so fast, didn't they? They absolutely flew. Different set of circumstances tonight entirely.
It is, yeah. And those circumstances might not enable Canvas to pick them off if they don't go that hard. Al Tariq could easily get a solo, is part of the way I saw it, Ben, depending on how Bochart breaks. He's not broken that well this season. But this did confirm Canvas as the best local sprinter. But as you mentioned, circumstances to overcome. He seemed a little bit on edge in the parade ring. I know he can be a little bit like that anyway, but just when the jockey went to get on board him, and he's taken a bit of settling going down to the start. He's had a history of sore shins, so I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he's a shoe-in here. I think Al Tariq, he's going to put it up to him. Ibn Malik, as long as he can bounce out of that race the other week, can put it up to him. And on the warpath, I still think he's got a bigger dirt run in him as well. And that's not without saying that the Bupat Seymour pair, who he slightly put me off with Freedom Fighter, certainly doesn't look a sprinter in this field, and they believe he's going to stretch out in time and might just need this experience here in the UAE for the first time.
let's take a look at that comeback run from Ibn Malik, which came last week on the 7th, 2 weeks ago. And it was on the turf. He's, I think, just as good on both surfaces, this fellow. He's a super horse. He was a listed winner in the UK for Shadwell before coming over here a while back now. And I would have thought, well, Masab probably put him in this race. He was ready for this race. But also maybe it was a kind of reintroduction to racing. This was his first start since Super Saturday 2020. I just worry that after the layoff, it's quick back, just the 2 weeks.
I think 5 furlongs on a straight course like this over a more forgiving surface, I think is fine. The 2 weeks with him, especially because he's been off for so long. It definitely got him running. That 5 furlong doesn't really give you a chance to do much else. And it's basically a very, very stiff work he had. He wasn't overly abused. I feel like he has no excuse not to run his A race here. I think he is slightly better on the dirt than he is on the grass, but it's marginal at best.
He was rated £15 inferior going into that turf race last year. I think that's probably factored in a bit of an absence, so it's realistically not. Well, it's now £10, and he maybe upgrade that run a bit last week. So realistically, £8. So as Mackie says, it's not a massive difference, but he is probably slightly better on this surface. And Mulsaber Al Mahari's done well with his aging sprinters in years gone by. So this could be a good opportunity for him, I suppose.
His only win in the UAE actually did come in that listed race.
He's extremely well supported right now. He's 7-2, third choice.
I still think this is Doug Watson's to lose.
Yeah,
and I do take on board. I know, Stephen, your tip was Al Tariq, I think, on the winning line, just because of the race fitness.
I think so, yeah, race fitness. He's going to go to the front. Happy that Story of Light ran okay on the turf earlier to boost the form. And the Golden Shaheen that he finished 6th in would have been probably the first time that he's properly faced kickback here at Meydan. Yeah. He's a horse that gets out in front and likes to dominate. He's come to sprinting fairly late in life over here. Still only a 6-year-old, so not inconceivable that he steps forward again this season, really. And if the track, we saw Rory, we only had one dirt race, but Rory made all the running. Al Tariq could be the one to go forward here.
Yeah, that's a very good point. He's a slip of a thing, Al Tariq, compared with the likes of Beauchart and Canvas, who are really big horses. Canvas, son of Shamadar, out of a Danzili mare. He's actually not guaranteed to go on the dirt on pedigree, is he?
Yeah.
Canvas.
Mostly handled it. He not really, but he's been able to handle everything that's thrown at him. He looks like a dirt horse, though. He's got a big shoulder and a big hind end on him and a short back. I will say the market is increasingly interesting here. Al Tariq's down to 15-8 is the favorite. Canvas is 3-1, and Ibn Malik is 10-3. I cannot, going into this race, not love On the Warpath at 20-1.
No, absolutely not, especially to pick up a place. So they're going forward then. There is Canvas. Will it be a case of him making a winning return and heading back to the Golden Shaheen as the top local sprinter? We shall see with Alistair.
May start in. Freedom Fighter. Ibn Malik. Beauchart, the last one. Group 3 Dubawi Stakes. And they're off. And they got away evenly. Al Tariq broke out well. Freedom Fighter and Beauchart also break out nicely. It's a line of 3 as they squabble for the early lead. Ibn Malik not too far away. Neither is On the Warpath. They race together in 4th. Just over a length away to Canvas, who's happy to race in behind. And then comes Maystar, who's being squeezed along at the back of the field. They've taken the first turn, hit through the 800 metres area, and it's Al Tariq just about the leader, with Freedom Fighter just continuing to nag away. Beauchart couldn't go with the front 2, now drops into 3rd and 2 lengths off the leader. Ibn Malik hugs the rail, then comes On the Warpath. They follow by Canvas, and the yellow will come into the home straight, racing about 5 lengths off the leader, and Maystar's a mile back. They inland for home. Al Tariq is in front. Freedom Fighter's off the bridle, but there's only a length in it. Then a breakaway to Beauchart, Canvas, On the Warpath, and Ibn Malik, but Al Tariq shrugs off Freedom Fighter. On the Warpath out of the pack, now 3rd, just ahead of Ibn Malik, but it's Al Tariq going great guns in front by 2 lengths, and Al Tariq powers home. Al Tariq wins the Dubawi Stakes. 2nd will go probably to Freedom Fighter over On the Warpath. Then came Ibn Malik, Canvas, Beauchart and Maystar.
Altaric justifies that market support and comes home in front for Pat Dobbs, and Doug Watson does it very easily indeed. Didn't get much peace on the lead. Freedom Fighter made sure it wasn't easy for Pat Dobbs, but ultimately he has come home the very ready winner here. And no show really from Canvas.
Yeah, he was carrying a bit of a parachute there. He didn't really break out well. Took a bit of dirt. He didn't mind that. Tipping out, he just didn't have a clear path to him. I think moving forward, he's going to be advised, the rider's going to be advised to be a little closer.
Yeah, not necessarily quite that easy. He's always been a sort of closing type, I suppose, Canvas. But Altaric, just again, a thoroughly likeable horse. He came through his Jebel Ali run, really, I thought, just on guts, beating Story Light. He really put it up to him on that occasion. And this is, in a way, another step forward for him. I know he's already a Group 3 winner, but this was a good race today.
I think it's probably, certainly on a par with the Al Shindaga that he won last year. Only beat Important Mission. That's doing Important Mission a bit of a disservice. But probably the quality of horse he's beaten tonight is better, albeit Freedom Fighter probably needs further. Canvas may have needed the run. So, again, extenuating circumstances for them, but he's kind of shown a different side in that he was taken on by Freedom Fighter. He's had to see him off. He was, Tygo O'Shea's one of the best dirt riders we've got here, and you could tell he was always just keeping Altaric honest by just sort of leaning in on him a little bit, not giving him much room on the rail, and he's managed to fight that off.
Yeah, it was a great run from Freedom Fighter. The first two were pretty much the first two the whole way around. Massive run from On the Warpath, Mikey. I hope you were on it each way.
Yeah, he's just to me, just a 7 furlong horse. They just haven't quite had a chance to run him there yet. I think his stakes win here was over 7 furlongs for Charlie when he was on the grass. He's just begging out for a little more trip. He just can't keep pace at the 6 furlongs. Altaric here, I thought this race panned out the way when we went over yesterday. This race pans out exactly the way we expected. The same 2 pace setters we expected on the front, and Altaric had the pole position. All he had to do was basically show the normal pace he always shows and keep the rail.
Yeah, Altaric, that's his 4th victory from just 7 starts here in the UAE. 5th victory in his career, and I'm sure Doug's now absolutely delighted he took him out of that sloppy race on New Year's Day. There was no need to run him then, was there?
Without doubt, definitely a good move. And I guess he went to Jebel Ali as well, obviously knowing he handled the track, having won the Jebel Ali sprint, but probably expecting a bit of an easier race. I know he had one in there himself in the form of Kazan, but maybe didn't expect Story of Light to stick it up to him as much as he did. And I remember Doug saying on the day that he was a bit embarrassed by how big Altaric looked in the parade ring. He thought he had him a bit fitter than what he was, but he got away with it and was able to take the break from that race that Switzerland won. And this is a good prize, Group 3 Dubai Stakes, and I think Doug loves this owner as well. He's one of his favourite owners in the yard, Abdul Mohsen. Pretty good strike rate as well, 11 wins and 13 seconds from 83 runners. That's not too bad.
Provided they don't get tempted to go to Saudi or somewhere like that without Tariq, then they've got, or somewhere like that, there's nowhere else this time of year. They've got the Al Shindaga defence of that back here on February the 11th. Would be a nice little break.
I mean, it would give him it would basically space out his races as much as they'd like, and from there, if he defends that title and runs really well there, they know that he runs well fresh, so they're probably just going to rest him until the World Cup.
They deliberately went Al Shindaga missed Super Saturday last year because he had to earn the right last year, so he'd had a few more runs. But
I think they had to sweat a bit to get the invitation to World Cup.
He did take the chance. I think
he already
saying,
no such worries this year. He's already in.
Yeah, he's pretty much already in, isn't he? Off 110. I think they'd like every horse in the Group 1s to be 115. That doesn't always work out like that, so I'm pretty sure he'll get in there. And a big well done to everyone who found him in the pick 6. I'm sure plenty did. He's one of 4 course distance winners in this race. Masaba will be happy. 3rd and 4th for his 2 fairly old boys. Ibn Malik ran a great race in 4th.
Yeah, it was nice to see Ibn Malik show a little bit. I mean, he got a little bit outpaced on the turn. I think it's probably just age, not having the same zip he once did. But he was never that close to the pace when he ran his best races on dirt anyway. He was just always a strong finisher. And both of his horses, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with I'm not sure what they'll do with Ibn Malik at this point. They have many options. But I'd love to see him get back to the winner's circle at some point.
There's a good turf race next week for him.
Yeah, and we could just,
That's where it'll be.
just going to throw him in there.
Masaba's got an embarrassment of riches in the turf division now, hasn't he? Straight sprints. So
yeah.
Maybe he's earned a 2-week break or so.
We've got the Dubai Sprint over 1,200 metres next week, a listed race on the turf. So there we go. Potential target for maybe a couple of these. I think Bochar probably wouldn't mind a bit of class relief.
And yeah, I mean, he was dropping back to 6, having found a bit of a life over 7 and a mile, well, more 7. Bupat probably wanted to run him next week. I think there's a handicap, but yeah, he's not up to this class.
No,
he at least broke well and threatened to get over and be a bit of a pace threat. But yeah, he's a handicapper. They took a chance, probably on the basis there was only 7 runners, and look, he's finished 6th and earned them $3,000. But yeah, never going to be winning a group race age 9, unfortunately. Had his year a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he did. If you're a Bochart fan, the horse has got a really amazing backstory. He nearly died in an incident in the horse box, and he's a finalist, a nominee for the His Highness Sheikh Mohammed Awards for Racing Excellence, People's Choice Award. One of 4 nominees, along with a Saudi trainer, Sarah Al-Qatani, Aero Trem, South American Star, and Lord Glitters. All the nominees have got an interesting backstory. You can read all about it on the His Highness Awards website. Google it or look on DubaiRacingClub.com. A reminder of just how easy that was for Al Tariq. And Pat Dobbs is probably quite happy that Andrea Razzini is riding for Sheikh Mohammed Obeid at the moment, because he didn't have to make a choice there.
Yeah, I mean, this horse, rewatching the final 400 meters, he won it pretty easily.
He won it really easily. Official margins 2 lengths.
I mean, he was full of himself. Like, I love this horse's action. Look at him, he's just full of himself. He switches leads, a little bit delayed there, but Pat does that consistently, where he waits as long as he absolutely has to. He doesn't use it off of the sort of the centrifugal force coming off the turn like a lot of riders do. And he gets after him a bit, and then he just opens up. It's over at this point. That lead switch, and he's just got so much more horse than the rest of them. And he's fitter, to be honest. He looked half the horse he did at Jebel Ali, where he kind of looked like John Belushi coming in here. Just a little rotund, and still won that race.
I think Sam Hitchcock rides him in the mornings, doesn't he? Or he certainly did on the day that we went for a nosy round Red Stables.
If you look at him in the face, he wears the blinkers all the time. You look at him in the face, and he looks just like Oasis Dream.
Sam?
Sam does, yes. Sam looks just like Oasis Dream. Looks like a big bay, 15-hand horse. Al Tariq, our winner, has almost the exact same marking on his forehead.
Actually a winner on turf as well. Al Tariq had 12 starts on that, so he had a pretty long career before coming here to the UAE. But even at this point of the race, you knew that Canvas wasn't winning anything.
Yeah, and you knew that Pat was full of confidence. He was just looking for Canvas at this point, like seeing where he was going to be. Canvas, I think the major mistake that Atzani made in this race is he did not go up the rail with Canvas. And Canvas will take dirt all day and doesn't have much of an issue with it.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. He's pretty hardened.
And he just brought him out 4 and 5 wide, which is very common for European riders to do, where they will stick out way too wide and lose ground on the turn because they don't want to take the kickback. A lot of times the horses will take it better than the riders. And he probably should have stayed down on the inside, saved some ground, saved a few lengths, and tried to tip out and make a run. Probably cost him 5th to 3rd in this spot.
Imagine they come back for the Aushindaga with Canvas, with a fitter horse, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I think he'll be a better price. But, let's not discount, I do think even going into this race, there was very little separating them. And remember, last time they met each other in the Dubai Golden Shaheen, Canvas, to me, had a much better setup than Al Tariq did. Al Tariq had to chase one of literally the fastest pace we've ever seen here in a 6 furlong dirt race. He was sitting right behind it. He was just chewed up by it because he's never had to go that fast. And his tiny little legs just couldn't keep up with Zendan. And Canvas and Red Lizelle basically had the run of the race at that point. They were the 2 big closers, and they closed extremely well to finish 2nd or 3rd and 2nd. So I do think that there's very little there's very little separating the 2 Doug Watson runners, and I feel like we saw that today, and possibly we might see them World Cup Day or even in the Mahab al-Shamal face off again.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, you think with things
dropping a bit more kindly for him, and a bit of race fitness. Canvas will run better. He's a better horse than he showed today, but not today for him. Only one more race set to come. It is one of the most fascinating on the card. There we see Rebels Romance up against Plus Que Parfait next. But before we get into that, we'll have a little look at the trophy presentation for this Dubawi Stakes, which, as we mentioned earlier on, won several times by Reynaldo the Wizard, even before it was called the Dubawi Stakes. There's some debate as to whether he won it 5 times or 6 times in total.
A different name, didn't it?
Yeah, it just was a race. And it's always also amused me. While I've said I'm such a fan of races being named after horses, particularly stars of the carnival, I think it's a really nice move and better than naming them after bits of,
it's also the sign of
geography. But the Dubawi Stakes, 1,200 metres on dirt, is bizarre, isn't it?
Yes.
It should surely be a mile turf race.
Yeah. I think they should probably, if they ever, I mean, they've already committed to the name at this point. And to be fair, he has produced a lot of really decent 6 and 7 furlong horses.
Maybe it is appropriate. I mean, he was represented in his race by Beauchamp, so.
I mean, and that's, good for them. But I always figured a race like the Zabeel Mile would be named the Dubawi.
Yeah, absolutely. But, we don't make the rules. That is, I imagine, Abdul Mohsen's son picking up the trophy.
I mean, what they could do is rename the Zabeel Mile like the Dubawi Cup or something, like that, where they could differentiate the name and it wouldn't feel like it's a name swap. And then just name the other one the Ronaldo's Wizard.
Just pick another good Godolphin miler that won here.
What was that?
Pick another good Godolphin miler or another good miler that won round here and name the race after him. Simples. Well done to Pat Dobbs. 271 wins in the UAE now for Pat. And Doug Watson quietly readying his arrows for a big end of season Super Saturday, Dubai World Cup, and all of our feature meetings. Really looking forward to this last race. Just kind of wasn't expecting to see Rebels Romance this early in the carnival, so it's really, really good that he lines up at 9:30. I think we're going to get a word with Doug or Pat. Looks like Doug is going to wander over and give Stephen the debrief after the victory of Al Tariq in our Dubawi Stakes. So let's hear from the winning trainer.
Joined by Doug Watson after the victory of Al Tariq. It's been a long wait for you today. It's usually Alain's race 6 where you come in, but worth the wait with Al Tariq. He's looking a real sprinting star now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a very nice horse, very consistent, very true. He just fights at any race he's in. He enjoys winning.
Were you a bit worried when you saw Ty kind of pressuring him on the inside there?
I thought with having the rail and that horse having his first run in a while too, I thought maybe, we haven't run for 2 months, but I still thought he's got that fight in him, just like he did up the hill in a couple races.
Will it be the Al Shindaga next race he won last year?
I imagine, we'll talk to Abdul and see. But, we were half thinking turf sprints and stuff like that with him, and I think we'll stick to the dirt now. He really liked that. Had a great draw. Everything kind of went his way. But Pat said it'll improve off of that because he did get a little bit tired. So now we got like 3 weeks in between races. And we were going to run on the first, but that track came up so bad. He's too nice of a horse for me to run on a track like that. It's not a group race or anything. And, I can't say I was pleased with Canvas, but I thought he'd get a little tired. He'll come on tons from that. He's gotten a big and stronger and much bigger and stronger, and he'll come on a ton from that. He'll be tough next time.
Plus Que Parfait coming up. We know he had an excuse last time. Hoping for much better tonight?
Hoping for much better. He did have a bad quarter crack after the race. He likes this track. He won the Derby on it, but he's going to have to prove it to us first. But he's in good form at home, and he looks great, so let's hope for the best.
Good luck with him. Well done with Al Tariq.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks to Doug Watson there. Really nice victory for him with Al Tariq in the Dubawi Stakes. One more race to come. Before we get on to that, we'll hear once again from Bhupat Seema, who told Stephen about the plans for some of his bigger yard names.
Well, it's been a great few weeks for you since taking over the licence. I know not much has changed around here in terms of how you go about things, but it's all been a little bit of a whirlwind for you. Few different things that you've had to deal with over those few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the circumstances were a little bit different, but on the other hand, yeah, things haven't changed in the respect of my personal work, and you know, we've got a great team, and I'm thankful to everybody over here. We got good jockey, great team, good veterinarian, good farrier. So, you know, I'm just a small part of a big team. So, you know, I'm glad they're all doing well.
And I think it was 5 winners the other night. Have you ever been involved with Zabil that have had 5 winners on a card before?
I don't think I've been involved with 5 winners, but I think I've been involved. I think we've had 4 winners, 2 or 3 race meets in a row.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. No, not 5. And like I said before, to have 5 winners or 6 winners, or to have any winners actually, you have to have everything go right for you. Sometimes you go to a race and you know you think you're gonna have six wins, and you know you go and win 1 and you run 5 seconds. So everything has to come right for you, you know, and right from the gate, and you got to get lucky, and you know. So I'm glad we did.
And looking around the place, it seems to be chock full. Was it important maybe last summer to have that almost clearer? I know you quite a few horses left the yard mid-season last year for whatever reason, but you seem to have fully replenished and done it on your terms as well, with COVID hopefully drifting away.
Yeah, we've been lucky to be supported by some great owners, good clients. We've got a lot of new clients and a lot of new horses. I guess that's the way to go forward. You know, when they're not working out for you, or you know it's costing the owner money, it's there's no point of having them in the stables. They should move on, and you get fresh blood. And I think we have a lot of new horses, probably 65 to 70 new horses. So, you know, I guess is the way forward.
And it's still important to have those established stable stars, starting with Secret Ambition. You must have been delighted with his comeback last week.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a superstar. I mean, you know, that horse, he'll test your nerves. He's quite quirky. But, you know, everybody knows him so well in the stable. His groom's been the same groom he's had for the last 8 years. He's probably the oldest groom we got here. And his foreman, they know this horse inside out. His rider was going to retire last year, and I had to request him. So listen, your horse has won one of the World Cup nights, so please stay another year. And then Tig knows him very well, so you know it helps. But yeah, he ran a great race. He just wasn't race fit. That race fitness on a 9-year-old really counts. So last half a furlong, you know, that tiredness came, but I think it should improve a couple lengths from here.
And have you formulated a plan for him going forward now?
Ideally, we'd like to go to Saudi with 115 rating. I think, hopefully, but last year they got in.
Yeah.
But I think level of that race has probably risen up a little bit. That's the plan, and 9 furlong will suit him right there. It'll be a good race for him.
And then as well as the old established ones, it seems you've got young guns coming through, and now Cafu ran a great race in that Maktoum Challenge last week as well. Would that have sort of made him a bit more streetwise after just the 3 starts, do you think?
I would think it would have made a man out of him a little bit. You know, yeah, he did run a good race. He's just slow out of the gate. It's unfortunate, and he gets himself too far behind. But you know, he ate some dirt. He came wide. You know, he covered a lot of ground, and he passed some really good horses.
Yeah.
So he's obviously got the talent. Next one, you know, 9 furlongs, he'll be able to travel a bit better, get a breather, and run home. Hopefully run a good race.
I think you've always probably deep down known that he's needed just further than the mile. It's just the way the races have panned out for him so far.
Yeah, ideally a plan was maybe to skip the first round and then go for the second. But, you know, sitting with the connections, they wanted to take a chance in this because he's won at a mile. And then if he did run well, might have had a chance to go to Saudi. But yeah, this is how it's panned out. And second round, he'll have to go through every one of them, every bout, every boxing match.
And Bupat Seamar is not without hope of landing our last race, the horses for which are in the parade ring. We are Rated Conditions Company here for horses rated 90 and above. Her race sponsored by Azizi over the 2,000-metre trip, and $80,000 is the prize fund here. And they're headed by last year's UAE Derby winner Rebels Romance, the mount of William Buick, Ajuste Fiscal, Wagner Leal, Desert Peace, another one for Charlie Appleby. Then we've got New Trails, Plusky Parfait, UAE Derby winner a few years back, Pat Dobbs Rise. Then we've got Remorse and Salter in Dubai, 2-4, Bupat Seamar, Big Team and Bright Start, both trained by Saeed bin Surur. Then Casey Jones, Dubai Icon, another one from Al Quaz, Refamp, trained by Christos Theodorakis, Mikhail Barcelona on board. Fire Group doesn't go, Gentle Bellini does, as indeed does Lost Eden. Takarir for Mohammed Saeed, and finally Court Poet, the reserve, gets in. Saif Al-Balushi claiming off that one.
What a race to end things. Rebels Romance is going around behind us. How does he look, Mikey?
Massive. He's
Massive as in fat or massive as in big and strong and going to win by a mile?
He's just a big, strong boy. Look at, he's just tall, extremely tall. He's a full hand taller than the 2-horse here.
He actually makes a Tuesday Fiscal look small, and he's pretty big.
He's just a big, strong boy. He looks quite fit, to be fair. He's as bigger than New Trails. New Trails is one of the biggest horses in Dubai. So it's, whether that translates into anything. I think will be interesting with his size and with this kind of field is how he's ridden. He's proven he has a little pace before it, but his best run is when he was taken out the back in the UAE Derby and given a chance to basically swoop around the entire field.
Well, he won first up last year, but that was after 57 days break. He's had 300 days this time. There's 5 Godolphin horses in this, and you just made the rather amusing observation that Rebels Romance, in theory, the best of the lot of them. Where's the orange cap? Because the way Godolphin do it is in group races, they do it by alphabetical order.
Yeah. Well, at least it makes it look like it's not a Godolphin horse winning it in every photo. So it looks like maybe a different set of silks. But
this is a Tuesday Fiscal, who's a Grade 1 winner in Argentina. He ran a good race last time, actually, over an insufficient trip in the Dubai Creek Mile behind 2s. He sort of plodded on and was beaten 6 lengths. He's prepping here potentially for a run in the Saudi Cup undercard day 1 handicap that's confined to horses from Book 2 countries. I believe he's had an invitation for that.
That suits him extremely well. This distance is exactly where he needs to be.
It really is, yeah.
He has the race has to unfold to his liking, though, and he can't be too far behind. He has a tendency to sometimes get a little bit too backed up, and you just can't do that on this course. You have to save ground. If you're going to come from the back, you have to save ground around the bends.
Well, Desert Peace has proved quite versatile, and I was surprised to see him as big as 11 to 1, I have to say.
Yeah, $1.3 million Keeneland September sale graduate. Then he was gelded. So now he's coming here to live out his days, winning most of his races. He's 4 for 7. I feel like he's going to set the tempo today. He's going to not so much play a rabbit for Rebels Romance as try to set things up for him, but also get a piece of it himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could just nick something, though, Desert Peace. He's got the race fitness. New Trails is a smashing horse. He came back after a year pretty much last year and won the listed curling. That was a smashing effort, bearing in mind the layoff. Then he ran a very good 6th, then he beaten 7 lengths behind Salute the Soldier in Group 1 Maktoum Challenge round 3. He does go well fresh, but he's drawn in 14. It won't be easy today.
Yeah, he loves the distance. I feel like he looks fine in the prelims now. He's not really blowing my mind by any means, but he's always been a decent-looking horse, even when he was with, I believe it was with Andre Fab beforehand. He's a tough horse, but this is a very tough race, and he's not quite what he was at his peak 2 years ago. And I'll be quite shocked if he gets it done today. The race will have to fall apart very similarly to the way it did when the last time he won in the curling.
Pluka Parfait is 0 from 16 since his win in the 2019 UAE Derby, but there was an excuse that came to light after his pretty dismal run in the Entazar here, and then he had a bad quarter crack.
He had a quarter crack, but it was more in the front of his foot, so it very much stings when it hits from up front. It did spread nicely and heal. He looks strong today and full of himself, and he's not the prettiest horse in the world. I think he's cute as a button because I love the horse, but he's not really going to tout himself. But today he is. I think he looks great. The thing with him is he has to sit properly between horses.
That tells me full of confidence. This horse could actually win it, Remorse. He's a good horse.
He should.
You heard from Bupat Seemar earlier on. He just got a little bit bumped last time in that run behind for the stop. Still ran on very well. He's, of course, a distance winner. He's got a nice chance. This is big team, big price.
With a big chance. I think he's 11 or 12 to 1 right now, third choice in the market. But there are a lot in that sort of bracket there, fighting for third choice. I feel like he's going to be very tough here, especially with the jockey switch.
Yeah, Frankie Vittori on board today. He was a bit unlucky not to win last time behind Desert Peace, but he was only carrying 55 kilos, only carrying 55 kilos again today, so... I don't see why he went wrong. Well, I really like this horse, Bright Star. He rocketed away with a maiden. It was only a maiden. By nearly 8 lengths last year on a domestic card here. And then he ran a super race behind Hypothetical, great race behind Remorse, great race back at Chelmsford, and then no race at all at York on the turf. But back here on the dirt, it's kind of what he loves. He's not going to win it, but I think he's capable of picking up something at the carnival.
He's far superior on the dirt than the turf, but he is consistent no matter what. And I really like that about him. He's far overlooked in this race. Let me look at the market real fast. He's looking 28 to 1.
Yeah.
Highly overlooked. And I consider him a shoe-in to finish in the first half of the field at least.
He's one who has gone forward in the past. Did that when he won his maidens. This is Casey Jones, who has won here. That came over 1,600 metres back in November 2020, but he's 50 to 1, and that's about right.
Yes. Probably not named for him, but he is nonetheless named after my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles character. He's a horse that is very tricky to train. I do not think that he has any chance whatsoever in this race.
Right, I would kind of put the same line to him, really, although he was second behind New Trails in that listed curling. That was a good run. He was fifth, only beaten 5 lengths by Midnight Sands on Super Saturday in the Berge Nahar. He's got good runs on dirt. For all that he's by a new approach, they generally don't like it.
No.
All the same, he probably looks a third string for Saeed. The market would have him as a second string.
It's always tricky. The new approaches don't seem to love it, but the Dawn approaches do.
Isn't that bizarre?
I think it's because Dawn approach was a new approach out of a dirt.
Yeah, it's the damn side, isn't it? Yeah.
But you know, there's Shammerdal on the bottom. I don't know. It's not great. His 5 starts, only 1 second on the dirt. I'll toss him quite quickly in a race where there's 4 or 5 horses I know can win.
Oh yeah, I'd be surprised if he would win, but it was a surprise with Desert Fire one earlier, wasn't it? What a lovely old boy Sultan in Dubai is. He's won twice over this course and distance. He's a Group 1 winner. It was in Argentina in 2016.
Complete pro.
He's 9 years old now, and as we heard from Bupa earlier on, his main aim this season will be a defence of the Jebel Ali Stakes, which he won by a nostril from the now retired, gone to race somewhere else. Anyway, not racing this year in this country, Taylor Shrow. Won't be winning this. We still haven't gone through them all. I haven't seen my Greek horse. Where's Revamp?
Gentile Bellini we haven't
We haven't seen... No, that's not right. Gentile
Bellini.
Gentile Bellini. And it's not a cocktail. It's a person or something. That was my highlight, the winning line yesterday. Gentile Bellini is actually in with a shot here.
I like him on top in this race. I think he's going to run huge. I feel like if the race sets up for him, even with the 15-hole, if they go a hard enough clip up front, because he's not much of a breaker. He's going to drop the anchor and make one run. So I think he's looked phenomenal, I thought, in the parade ring.
I know he's really bred really well and everything. If he wins this, I'm going to be upset though, Stephen. This is a proper race, isn't it?
Well, I think he can live up to some of that pedigree still.
I still do as well.
Yeah, 25 to 1 into 6 to 1, Gentile Bellini.
Yeah.
I think it's just because he's been so talked up over the last 24 hours. I think he's got hype based on his daft name.
It's the turn of foot that he showed 2 starts back, where he really came home really well.
Sometimes you can think they're flattered by that, but he did it when he won, and then he did it when he finished second behind a very good horse in Everfast.
Yeah.
And even when he was 6th in the Creek Mile, probably a little bit outclassed there, but he was still only 1 place behind Golden Goal, and I think he's £10 better off with a Huste Fiscal from that run as well. So I thought there was a bit in it. So you've got to take a lot on trust with how he does drop himself out the back, and you're automatic. It doesn't always work that stepping up from a mile to 2,000 metres is going to be the answer.
No, because they won't go quite as quick.
Yeah, they won't go as quick, and pace could be key to him. But I do agree that he's if the track is still playing to those, or if the track is playing to those coming from off the pace, and this is really the truest test because it's going to be quite attritional, then I'd say he'll be staying on past horses anyway.
That's a great course. I'm so happy to see them back here. Christos Theodorakis having his first runners here for several years. He has been at the carnival before. This horse used to be trained by Christos Kavoras over in Greece. He's won his last 2 over there, 1,800 metres and 2,100 metres. He's a tiny little horse. Used to be trained by David Simcock. He won't be winning this, but I'm delighted that we've got Greek representation. That's what the carnival's all about. There is Gentile Bellini. He's a gorgeous horse.
Yeah, he looks stunning in the parade ring. He has won at 10 furlongs. He is a 10 furlong horse. They've been waiting to get him back to that on the dirt. He won it on the grass with when he was under with Ballydoyle with Aidan O'Brien. He went over 10 furlongs, oddly enough, making all in that race. So, I mean, to me, I feel like he's a horse that has always been well thought of. The way he was campaigned for for Ballydoyle early in his career. He was well thought of, the spots they selected for him. He just didn't pan out, and he was turned out of the machine at that point. Now a decent yard has him. I think it's only a matter of time before we see him at his proper distance with his proper field, and I feel like this is well within his range.
Got a stupid stat as well. Musab Al-Mahari's won the last race at Meydan 5 times out of 9 so far this season.
That's a great stat.
Stupid stat. I love that stat.
That's a really good stat. He lives quite far away, Musaba. It must annoy him. He's got to stay for the last
Well, I
race.
always see Maria sat on the bench outside the weighing room after the last, and always obviously waiting for the
trophy.
silks and trophies and stuff. So I thought, I'm going to check that just to see, and yeah, they've done pretty well in the nightcap so far this year.
This is Carreras, second runner tonight for Mohamed Said and Al-Fu race. He's by Franco out of a Marju mare. I think he's going to hate every second of this dirt course, but I could be wrong. It's happened before. Having that his first run for the operation, used to be with John
He's
Gosden.
going to swim in it.
I think also Lost Eden, who we focused on a moment ago in the colours of Sheikh Mohammed Abeid, is not guaranteed to like this. He ran well actually on the dirt at Jebel, behind down under Bayou. He's by See the Stars out of a Danzili mare.
Yeah, I think he's
big fans, are they?
To me, he's a horse that, you know, they're looking for a spot with him. They're going to get him fit and probably aim towards something like the Jebel Ali Stakes.
Yeah, we know he goes at Jebel Ali. Let's show you a couple of these in action, starting with Rebels Romance UAE Derby win. A race that hasn't worked out very well.
No, it hasn't. The second and third haven't run too many times since, I think just once each. It's often the place pair that give the best guide to the depth or the strength of form. Plenty, I mean, you can see they're well strung out. He looked amazing in the parade ring. He's a real tall horse, and although he's only just turned 4, he doesn't look out of place against some older, gnarlier stayers in this. I mean, the angle in the race is just because he's such a short price that I think we're all clamouring to try and find something to try and beat him. And, you know, we've seen with these racing conditions races that it is the ones that are well fancied by the weights that invariably come out on top. And obviously, with his rating of 115, you know, you compare it to Desert Peace, for example, who is 2.5 kilos, carrying 2.5 kilos less, but he's 14 pounds inferior. That is an awful lot of distance on the racetrack. Obviously, a lot of whether Rebels Romance is worth 115 is another matter, but if he is, then, and if he gives his running first time out, then obviously everyone else is playing for second, and certainly on looks he does stand out, really.
Yeah, he really does. It helps that he's big and shiny. Mikey, do you remember he went over to the Belmont, to run in the Belmont? It was a hind leg infection, something like that?
He had an infection in his hock that went the wrong way at the inopportune moment, and he couldn't persist with him. He was apparently working very well with Desert Peace and outworking him. And I feel like there's, you know, I actually thought he would win the Belmont if he ran in the race. In retrospect, he would not have.
No.
He would have finished a fine third that day. But he'll have a chance to prove that form when he possibly faces Hot Rod Charlie, who ran the race of his life to finish second in that Belmont.
On Hot Rod Charlie, just quickly, arrived in Dubai. You went to see him, all fit and well and loving.
Yeah, he's great.
What he'd literally seen of the place so far.
He's great, and they're very happy with him. He'll be hopefully on the track tomorrow morning for the first time. So we're loading up here.
Right, I'm sticking with a favourite, Rebels Romance for me. 2 Gentili fans.
Oh, yeah, Gentile Bellini and Remorse.
These are the two. It was so hard to pick between them.
Yeah. I also think a Huste Fiscal stepping up in trip's going to be a big threat as well. But,
I'm cheering for Plus que Parfait to run a huge race, but I think Gentile Bellini or Remorse, it's between those two.
Yeah, Remorse is a proper horse. It's interesting to see how he gets on here. Casey Jones has got his own ideas about the stalls and various other things, so hopefully he doesn't delay proceedings too much, because this really is an intriguing finale to Carnival Night 2. Will Rebels Romance make it 3? No. He's never been beaten at Meydan. Will he make it 3 from 3 at Meydan?
Revamped Winton. Gentile Bellini. Big team and bright start. Big team is in. Bright start. Remorse. And is clear. Gates crash back. And they racing away. Desert Peace broke out well. There's a boy down. The rider of Lost Eden came down shortly after the start. Now there's a loose horse for them to contend with, currently out of their way. So Desert Peace broke out well. Sultan Dubai broke out well. Dubai Icon against the inside rail took a chance to race a little bit closer. Remorse also came out running, happy to race just in behind as the loose horse keeps straight. Sultan Dubai is off the course. Rebels Romance, the yellow cap, is not too far away. Court Poet took a chance to gain some ground, and that now only races about 4 lengths off the leader. They followed by Big Team in the all blue colours, one off the rail. Takaria is next best and must be racing a good 7 or 8 lengths from the leader. They followed by New Trails, who's one off the fence, followed by Bright Stars in the white cap, who's 3 deep at the outside, Augusta Fiscal. Then comes Casey Jones, Revamp. Pluska Parfait races quite some way back, and Gentile Bellini, as is his wont, has dropped right out of it. Must be about 14 lengths adrift down the back straight, 1,000 metres out, and it's Dubai Icon setting the pace in front by about 2 lengths. Racing in second is Desert Peace. Then comes Remorse, that's in the gold colours. Out in third, Court Poet against the inside rail. Rebels Romance will follow every move that Desert Peace makes. Big Team also starting to gain a bit of ground in the all blue colours. Covers some ground but is on the move. Sultan Dubai, green sleeves and cap. Then comes New Trails, followed by Augusta Fiscal, 2 lengths away to Revamp. Then they followed by Bright Star. Casey Jones is at their outside, and Gentile Bellini has got a miracle to do in line for home. They got 400 metres left to go, and Dubai Icon has led the whole way. Remorse is second, and the others are battling in behind. The others are led by Big Team, who's a mile back in third, but it's Dubai Icon in the lead, in charge by about 3 to 4 lengths, and Remorse has got no answer. Dubai Icon from start to finish will be much too good, and another one for Godolphin. What is another memorable evening? Dubai Icon won that and won that well. He smashed them. Remorse ran second. Big Team third. Gentile Bellini best work late for fourth. Then came Casey Jones, Desert Peace, New Trails, Rebels Romance. Then came Court Poet, Augusta Fiscal. Revamp was next best. Sultan Dubai, Pluska Parfait. Then came Bright Stars. They were ahead of Takaria, and the loose horse, Lost Eden, has avoided the outriders for now.
I think we'll file that under the shock of the night. Dubai Icon, 0 from 7 here in the UAE, 0 from 5 on the dirt. Although he had run well on it before, notably over course and distance behind New Trails. But we've seen on this dirt track tonight, it's a question of the horses who've been on the front have largely stayed there. And that was the case here with Dubai Icon, Mikey. He was in the lead, drawn in one, and away he went.
Well, yeah, I was dead wrong on that. But I cannot make heads or tails of this performance. I'm not going to analyze it into anything other than a freak performance from a horse that had never shown anything remotely like this on the dirt. So, you know, good for them. Good for Saeed. This was a decent run. I just never expected anything like this. I know his run was okay behind New Trails last year, but nothing like this. He'd really come into his own.
They were just replaying on the big screen here at Maidan the fall, if you like, or the unshipping of Lost Eden. Andrea Razzini hung on to him for about 5 strides. It was a remarkable attempt to stay in the saddle. A horse and jockey, as far as I know, are okay. Horse is definitely okay. Stephen, what do you make of that?
Not a lot, really. I mean, a dominant performance on the face of things. He's got out in front and stayed there, or got close to the pace and stayed there under a good ride from Pat Cosgrave. Broke from stall 1. Looked as though Remorse was going to come out and really throw down a strong challenge, and did, but probably did a lot of running just to get close to Dubai Icon, and just began to waver in the straight. And for horses like Gentile Bellini and Casey Jones, 1 or 2 others that stayed on from the back, they just didn't come back to them for whatever reason. The track has probably ridden that way tonight. Maybe the wind has dried it out an awful lot. I've noticed they've not put any water on it during racing, so maybe it's just a very quick track, and the winner's been able to nick one from the front.
Oh, we've had 3 dirt races all run from the front.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's probably proof of.
Rory was on the lead, wasn't he? Alterique was on the lead.
Yeah. Do they never water during the races?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But not tonight. I haven't seen the Bowsers out tonight.
Possibly because it would have blown over all of us.
Yeah, true enough.
Actually, the wind has died down quite considerably.
The wind would be one of the reasons I think they would water it, right? Because, anyway, I'm not a track super, so I'm not gonna criticize that.
I think it's still windy out there. The jockeys have been saying to me that the grandstand is masking it
from us, but they're still getting.
There is still a decent breeze out there. Yeah.
Well. Saeed's found himself a horse that he could possibly sneak a run in the World Cup with, because he has one every year, and this is going to go up a bit, isn't it? Only 99 into this.
Yeah, he'll go up an awful lot, you'd think, well into the hundreds. So I don't know the winning margin, but it was a good way in the end, wasn't it?
It's a long old way. He'll stick him in Mac Team Challenge round 3 anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Curling Mac Team Challenge round 3. There we go.
Yeah, that's most likely where we'll go. I'm highly intrigued what these final fractions are going to be.
8.5 lengths.
When they show the final 400 meters, because Gentile Bellini did not run until the final 400 meters and passed all the field but 3 horses.
The thing is, he's now going to become a bit of a cliff horse, isn't he? Because he's done that over 2,000 meters. He's done it over a mile.
He just shows no interest in picking up his feet until the final 2.5 furlongs.
Maybe the turf will be worth another go. Maybe.
Time of the race is 2:03.46. Standard stage track record 2:01.38.
So that's pretty quick. I think 2:06 or 7 has been the last couple of weeks over this sort of. I know we're dealing with much lower graded horse, but probably quite quick. And Saeed certainly had his team.
Had a great night, hasn't he,
tonight.
Saeed? Yeah. He'll be full of beans. He's also got a good run from Big Team, who's finished third. Who actually, I didn't notice this before, but Big Team is kind of the same colour as Rebels Romance, like really dark bay/black horse. Came back into parade ring. I was a bit confused for a second. Rebels Romance, what was that?
Terrible.
Really was.
That was a terrible run and a terrible performance. I was hoping for more from him. He really didn't. I was really worried about the start because he was midfield and he has a big horse that might get lost a little bit there. He really didn't show much at all. Maybe there was a bit of a bias in the front and he wasn't able to close, but yeah, that was a bit of a dud. I'm sure they're going to be scratching their head, and it's at least if they wanted to go a more conservative route with him, this gives them a chance to back up and reconsider things, not go to Saudi, look at
absolutely.
the
I don't
Mac
think going
Team
anywhere near
challenges.
Saudi off the back of that.
He said he didn't want to go Mac Team Challenge round 2 anyway because of the
Too
likely
close.
stiff competition.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's why they came here. Yeah.
You can't dodge it because of one horse. Because maybe Hot Rod Charlie might hate this dirt course. You never know, and he'll be on a quick trip back home.
We have a look at exactly what happened to Lost Eden. He hangs on for ages. Andrea Razzini, and eventually goes out the side door.
Lost Eden had a good day out anyway.
He did.
He had a great time.
He ran around the outside rail for a good 1.75 miles. He'll be very fit for that next race.
The frustrating thing for Doug, though, is that the horse has had a race now, hasn't he, without a jockey on board. So it is a missed bullet, so to speak.
He wasn't initially into the lead Dubai Icon, but he snuck through on the inside of whichever Godolphin horse was in the red cap, Desert Peace, and took it up pretty quickly. And from then on, he just never really looked like being beaten, and William Buick never really looked entirely happy, did he, on the favourite?
Yeah, perhaps he just wasn't. I mean, from here, I still thought from here that Rebels Romance was sitting in a spot where he could muscle his way out and figure out a way to get this done on class. This is definitely a step backward for him.
What's the more surprising result, this one or Desert Fire earlier? It's been a night of shocks for Saeed. That would be my headline.
Yeah, this one winning by so far. Desert Fire won by a good way as well. They're on a par, I think. Once you factor in the accentuated distances on the dirt, they're pretty similar.
This might be a good week to ask for my annual trip to Saeed's stables.
Rebels Romance he's really asking him to pick up at this point, and the horse just has no interest in it.
He threw everything at him, didn't he? He really, he wasn't, he was asking him properly for the effort, and the horse just had nothing in response. And this was kind of as close as Remorse got, and then he just had so much horse on the front, didn't he, Pat Cosgrave?
Just
quite a remarkable performance.
Yeah, I mean, it was. He's going to have to work a lot to back this up. I'll be very surprised if he does.
Yeah, Dubai Icon, some way to break your duck here, Maidan. Anyway.
Oof. That is shocking.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to know what to say, isn't it?
for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to buy Icon, 8.5 lengths back to Remorse, big team third, 9 lengths behind Gentile Bellini.
Who ran a huge final 400 meters.
Casey Jones has run well.
Yeah, I mean...
Finished 5th, who'd have thought it?
There are lots of odd performances this evening on this dirt course.
Nice to Pat Cosgrave, been a stalwart of the Sabins Road team for many a year now. Probably 5 or 6 years, if not longer, that he's been coming out here at the carnival for Saeed. And Saeed does share the ride very much between his jockeys. His dam, Dubai Icon's Arabian Beauty, was a nice filly trained by Saeed. I think she was a sister to the UE winner Street of Dreams, who won a maiden here. Sam Hitchcock rode him. I remember everyone from the entire yard was absolutely stunned, and they said, "Oh, we never thought this was very good. He's gone and won," and that was that. I don't think the horse ever won again. But anyway, also the dam of this horse, Dubai Icon, is a half sister to the Group 1 winner Rio de la Plata, who's a gorgeous horse.
Yeah.
So he trained one Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère, something like that, if memory.
I think we're going to have
serves. Nice Godolphin family.
We are really going to have to put an asterisk on this. Just even with the margins between the winning distances between, as the Euros say, between the horses, just so obscure. Remorse is the only thing in there that makes sense, and the rest is a little bit
It actually had a very similar prep to Desert Fire. This horse, Dubai Icon, in that he'd run here at the obviously last year, the carnival, gone through the carnival, had a long old break, 222 days to be precise, ran in October at Chelmsford, finished second on that occasion behind You're Hired, trained by Amanda Perrott. Was quite keen then and stayed on quite nicely, a bit similar to Desert Fire, who had the prep at Kempton, came here and won. So moral of the story, pay a lot of attention to what Saeed runs on the all-weather in October and November.
Yeah, he's getting them ready.
He is getting them ready. We know now, don't we? And the Godolphin handlers are very helpful. They do often tell the press, oh, this one will go to Dubai or whatever. But generally, most horses that